Get my notepad up. And let's take a look here. Let's see. Open up my Restream. We'll open up the phone. Let's take a look here. Get the phone up. Got Restream up. Gonna get the phone up. Open phone. Log into that. Every time I open this website, it's like updating the app. I'm like, bruh, why do you need to update the app every time I open you? Let me take a look here. Let me just make sure my audio settings look good. Yeah, glad I checked that. That's important. Cloud 2. Okay. And I'm set to available. All right. Plank says, yo, hello, welcome. You're the first. Welcome. I was about to play some Diablo 2 while we wait for any debates that come up. And it's 6:30. We're going to start the show. My co-host will not be present, which is sad. So, you know, but that's okay. That's okay. We're just gonna go through it. Anyway, let's play some Diablo 2. I've been having fun with it. It's actually not bad. Let me see. Is my... that should probably be turned on. Let me see. Hopefully the game isn't too loud. It's a little loud. We're going to turn it down. Or turn that down. I'm going to move that forward a little bit so I can... There we go. Better. Okay, so we have the Sorceress here. And I've been playing on Nightmare difficulty. Still playing that Sorceress. Honestly, been having more and more fun as time has gone by. I just recently got a belt upgrade, which is cool. It's now 12 instead of 8. That's wonderful. But where was I? I think I was... Let's see. Plank says, what's the game about? This is Diablo. Diablo 2 Resurrected. Let me adjust the volume. I got to turn it down. Oh, you know what? I have it turned down in the system settings. Let me just open up the volume mixer. Get that down to like 1. Yeah, we'll get that down to like 1%. But I don't know. I suppose we can keep it to 7 while we wait for anybody who wants to come up and debate. Kind of makes sense, right? Just fills it with some air while we wait. Anyway. Where was I? What do I got to do? Okay. Take the staff to Tal Rasha's tomb. Look for the arcane sanctuary within the palace. Find Tal Rasha's tomb. I think I have I have a map that I use to like find where the heck I gotta go. Because this thing, I'm just going to be honest with you, it can be really confusing at times. As to where exactly you need to be going. So I have like this handy dandy map. I'll show it to you so you can see it. Hold on. Where's my Chrome? Chrome. Just gonna hit OK there. So this is the map. It's been crazy helpful. Because looks like we're getting a call. Wow, that was quick. You are on the line with First Amender. How you doing?
Cool. I'm doing well. How's it going, man?
What did you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk with you about your position on gender a little bit.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
That's very cool. So what I've heard you say is that you conceptualize gender as a person's internal feeling about how they would like other people to perceive them. Is that correct?
No.
No. Position is then?
It's a internal feeling of what your sex is, not how other people perceive.
What your sex is?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
It's an internal perception of that.
But sex is like not. It's not a real thing. I don't know how you can have a feeling about it.
Sex is a
Because
real
sex is
thing.
like,
It's your XY, XX chromosomes. You either have large or small gametes. This is
right.
all
Well, I would say
sex.
those things are real,
There are
but us
secondary sex
classifying those things as,
characteristics. Sorry, I interrupted.
yeah, but no worries. I guess, but wouldn't it be the case that those underlying characteristics are real, but the category of sex, that's like a decision that humans make to like classify the world. It doesn't like, you can't perceive sex. You can like see the things that we call sex, but like sex itself isn't a real thing. I don't know how it can like pre-exist in like the wiring of someone's brain.
Mm-hmm. I think I know what you're talking about. But typically speaking, like if we're talking like I don't know, I suppose like an Aristotelian mechanism, we usually have like categories and we're able to like put things together to make sense of the world. And so this would just be one of them. Sex is one aspect of that.
Okay.
Please hit just subscribe. Welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you for the subscription. Sorry about that.
I agree with that. No worries. But something else I think I've heard you say before is like is that this feeling is the result of like the biological makeup of like somebody's brain. You said that kind of grounds out in like their like neurochemistry, like it's a thing we can, like, observe
it happens not just like through the neurobiology, but it also happens at an endocrinological basis. It is also has an embryological basis behind it.
Okay. I was listening to your last call-in show, and you were debating a guy about trans bathrooms, and you had this really great gotcha moment where he said that the way he would test whether somebody can go into a room is he would ask them what their gender is, and you were like, okay, so I'm going to have my position.
Yeah.
Do you remember this interaction? Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying there, you wouldn't define like gender as like what someone says. And I don't think you would define it just as how someone feels either. I think that there's this sort of third aspect that you don't account for with your definition, which is like the embodied behavior. There's a performance associated with the gender that is like part of the requirement to be that thing. Does that make sense?
I mean, there are gender typical behaviors, if that's what or sex typical behavior.
Like, that's what gender is, I would say. That's why it's separate from sex.
Well, gender encompasses all sorts of different topics. But to break it down, it's an internal sense of what somebody considers their sex to be. That's the simplest way that I can. That. Well, I'm saying it can't
just be that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, we can talk about like the more it's just, if I had to describe it to you in a very quick way, that would be the way that I would describe it, because it aligns itself very closely with, pretty much the entire concept of gender and sex.
Okay. So you just find it to be like a useful heuristic for the.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously there's internal gender expression, there's external gender expression, there is, the stereotypes that are incurred from the basis of a gender expression. These are all things that manifest itself as a part of gender.
Yes, of course. I agree with that. But I guess I would say that I feel like all of those are essential aspects of it. I don't think that it's enough to I don't think it would be enough for me to say that I am a woman if I were to suddenly announce to you that I am a woman. I think that there would be like associated behaviors and like actions that come along with that are part of being a woman is not just me saying it.
That's possible, but you have to acknowledge that if you're talking about the internal sense of what somebody is going to be, that internal sense is ultimately going to be up to that individual. You just kind of have to take their word for it. We do this kind of thing for all sorts of things. Like, for example, if you go to like a doctor, and you claim having like a specific pain, we don't just simply doubt the pain. We investigate the pain. For example, we take people's word for it all the time, right? Of
course.
And this is just another example of that.
No, I don't disagree with that. I agree that it's that's part of it, but I don't think that's the only thing it is. I think that's just an aspect of the gender. And I guess if I were to hone in like more specifically, because it's super broad, just kind of referencing back to that conversation that I brought up, you said that you think people should go into whichever bathroom they identify as being in.
Whatever they feel most comfortable is my.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think so? Okay. What if that person's comfortability conflicts with lots of other people?
I think people can just kind of deal with it.
Okay. What would you say if somebody who is being conflicted with responded that the person you want to be able to use that bathroom can just deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that could make people upset. That's fair. We do all sorts of things to mitigate harm in society, and this would just be one example. I would say that like the current cultural paradigm is often quite antagonistic towards trans people. And at the end of the day, all I want is a trans person to be able to use the bathroom as they see fit. That's it. There is no sexuality to that. It's just a necessity of humans needing to use the bathroom. And that's it. Like that should not be a point of contention for anybody.
Why would you not just say that people should use whichever bathroom they present as?
I mean, that's one. I mean, honestly, like a majority of cases, that's where they're going to be most comfortable, but not everybody fits into there. Yeah. So I mean, like, I think it solves the problem. Like you just go to where you feel most comfortable as. I don't know what it is that person is going through. And ultimately, I just think it should be up to the person. I've also had situations where I've had to use the women's restroom. And it's not a big deal to just simply use the opposing sex's restroom, provided, a certain level of decorum.
I agree. So I totally agree with that. And I'd be on the same page as you that like the reason I don't use the women's bathroom isn't because there's like some law that prevents me from doing it or because there's a bodyguard at the door who's going to check like my genitalia. I don't use it because like the social friction generated by me being in the bathroom with a bunch of women is just like too high. It makes all of them uncomfortable. That's going to make me uncomfortable. Like that's what I'm trying to do when I use the men's bathroom. And so I think similarly.
Well, let me tell you this. What if I told you, right, one day I walked into a women's restroom. I was actually at a stadium, right? And there were all sorts of women in there. There had to have been at least a dozen women in there. And I got news for you. I didn't really notice that I was in the women's restroom. I don't know what it was some really good beers that I had. I don't know if I was drunk. All I knew is that I was not being observant of my surroundings. And I walked in, and it was really funny. Like, this is where it's like you have to start questioning my own intelligence. This is why I say sometimes that like I sometimes have very square brain moves. This is one of those square brain moments where I walked in and I saw a little girl, that was there, and amongst like 5 other little girls, right? And they're all washing their hands. And I was like, huh, that's weird. And I walked past them, and then I just used the stall, and then I walked out, and I don't even think I realized that I was using the women's restroom until I was done and I was out of there.
Yeah.
And
it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, the end result is that nothing happened. Nobody freaked out because they happened to see me. They probably just thought I was some weirdo that was using the women's restroom, or maybe I was there out of mistake. I'm just pointing out, it's like, hey, just why not just leave them alone? Like allow them to use the restroom that they need.
If I could say though, when in that story, when you walked into that bathroom, you didn't notice, and it seems like the other women sort of like maybe saw that you were kind of stumbling, or like, oh, the guy's drunk, like, whatever. But
I wasn't stumbling at all. I probably had 2 beers. I'm not a lightweight. I just want to let you know that I am not a lightweight.
your masculinity. But if you had walked in and there were women in there and they had said something like, "Oh, hang on, like wrong bathroom," wouldn't you have said, "Oops, my mistake," and gone to the men's? Or do you think that women should be able to assert that preference to?
Well, all I'm doing is pointing out that it's not that big of a deal, and it shouldn't be a big deal.
I agree, but
it's kind of silly that we kind of make it into this thing that it's like, oh my God, holy crap, I can't believe a man is in the women's bathroom. It's literally a complete non-issue.
Well, I agree, but you wouldn't say that there are like women that like.
Sorry, you're breaking up. Can you repeat?
Do you have me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, but you wouldn't say that there are zero women who would like never feel uncomfortable with like another man in the same bathroom as them. Like, I'm sure those women do exist.
I'm sure. I like I said, I just think that people should just get over it. It's really not that big of a deal. It's like, take for example, right? Like, what if people were uncomfortable, right? And I hate to make this comparison because obviously it's not perfectly analogous. It's that what if, like, white people were uncomfortable sitting, next to black people in restaurants. I just say, you just kind of got to get over it, That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Can I try to draw a distinction between that and the bathroom example, though?
Sure.
I think that part of the reason women might be nervous being around men in like a bathroom scenario is rooted more in reality than like a racist who doesn't want to be around black people. I think that women do have like logical reasons to not want men to be around them when they're in like a vulnerable circumstance, like in a bathroom where there aren't going to be.
Well, I mean, I've already debunked this claim. It is overwhelmingly cis men are the ones that are assaulting women in bathrooms. A trans woman in the bathroom isn't going to hurt another woman. They have nothing to fear. It's literally just the culture war that causes people to think that way.
Do you think that they should be able to assert the preference that they don't want a cis man in the bathroom, though?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Do you think that women should be capable, should be enfranchised to assert the preference, with power behind it, that they don't want cis men in their bathroom?
Well, that's tricky because you can't really tell whether or not that they're trans.
Right. So I agree. But so then I would say do it by presentation.
Well, I would say I would do it by behavior.
Well, right. That's probably part of the presentation, right? It's like a woman behaves in a certain way.
Well, the presentation is like, okay, they're dressing a specific way. But I'm saying like, there could be, for example, a trans person that's just wearing pants. They don't have to wear feminine clothing. So like, I guess my question is like, okay, well, who gets to stay versus who's not? Well, if somebody's being kind of a creep, then they don't get to stay. In fact, let's call the cops on that guy. Yeah,
but surely there's more to womanhood than just the clothing. Right? There's certain mannerisms, I would say. And
I mean, I'm just saying like what you can externally observe. That's all.
Would you say that those behaviors and like maybe speech patterns, maybe like specific manners of like holding one's body in space? I guess like I can sometimes even tell over text, like if I'm speaking to like a woman or a man, just based off of the way that they text. Would you say that those also count as like part of the gender?
I mean, in terms of the bathroom, I mean, you're saying like other features. Sure. Yes. Sure. That would be a part of external gender expression.
I guess I just feel like I guess, what, I'm sort of like being a debater about this. Let me just say what I think. I feel like what you're advocating for is no gendered bathrooms at all. And that's a stupid idea. Is that true?
No, I like, here's the thing, right? Like my solution doesn't require reframing anything in society. It's all my position is basically just applying the golden rule. Treat yourself as or treat others as the way that you would want to be treated. I would imagine the idea of a trans woman being unable to use a bathroom. I mean, obviously you yourself, if you're a woman, would want to use the bathroom. Same thing if you're a man. It is fair. It would behoove you to treat them nicely.
Okay. I guess I agree. I feel like part of that treating them nicely is behaving in the manner expected of women in that area.
It just sounds like you're you want to. It sounds to me like you're treading a fine line there, where it's borderline. You're like, oh, a woman has to act this way and man has to act that way, and that's kind of my only pushback of that.
Of course. I hope you can. I'm not trying to do that. But I do think that there are associated behaviors and patterns of behavior and perception with the genders that are equally part of what like a woman or man is as someone's asserted identity and as how someone dresses and how they look.
Can you repeat that? I apologize.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think that there are patterns of perception and behavior associated with the gender that are equally intrinsic parts of that gender of like being a man or woman as what somebody asserts as their identity and as like what they wear. Or,
well, certainly not wearing a dress would be like an intrinsic part of being a woman, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah, because not all women wear dresses.
Of course
it's just a secondary sex character. I'm sorry, not a sex characters. It's just an external cultural. This is where they say like gender is socially constructed part.
Well, it is partially right.
Yeah, I mean some aspects are not. It just depends on what portion of gender you're referring to.
I agree, but I would say that those socially constructed aspects are equally important to what gender is as the non-socially constructed aspects. Mm-hmm. I think that you have to have them both in the frame of reference to have like a full picture of it.
So are you on my side that you think that trans women ought to be able to use the women's bathroom?
I think that people ought use whichever bathroom they externally present as.
Okay, so we are in disagreement there, but at least that's a lot better than like we should take the trans people and put them in a blender. So,
well, I suppose, but the reason I have that position, Amender, I think is because I think it minimizes social friction, and I think that that's what we're trying to do.
So here's the thing, at the end of the day, most trans women, trans men are probably going to do that on their own because that's ultimately what they feel most comfortable as. But I don't think that's the end all be all. I think that if a trans woman wants to use the bathroom and they don't pass, they have a right to use the bathroom. That's simple. Yep.
Okay. All right. I think that's an important position to have, I suppose, and it's a good voice to have on the movement, I guess. So, but then why don't you just say that we should get rid of this bathroom? And people go into the stalls and they wash their hands and everybody leaves and it's fine.
Oh, but because it's I don't think, I mean, sure, great, but it's not necessary. We can work within the paradigm. We don't have to reconstruct anything. It just, if you applied my rule, it would work fine. No one would have any issues.
Well, I think you're just saying the same thing as I'm saying, though. You're just like not saying it because
I'm saying if they don't present, totally okay my only caveat is if they don't present. That would be my only call against you here.
Yeah, I understand that argument, and I know, of course. What do you think about abortion?
I'm very pro-abortion.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would you draw the line at like 20 weeks?
Would I draw the line at 20 weeks? So the problem is like I would have a line there. Though with that being said, my concern is in the stake of the life of the mother, in which case I don't really care. I don't care if it's the day of delivery. Like if the mother's life is in danger, then yeah, just yeetus the fetus.
I agree. Of course, yeah. If there were a living child that like pulled a gun on their parents and a cop was watching this, they would
I mean,
shoot the
you
child.
should
Yeah,
also
of
be
course.
aware that medically speaking, like anywhere past say 25 weeks, an abortion is not an abortion at that point. It's just an induced pregnancy at that point. They just induce carrying or delivering the baby, right? Because it's viable
like
outside of the
like,
womb at that point.
Is that true? Can we as early as 20 weeks?
No,
wow.
25. 25.
Go 25. Okay.
25, not 20.
I draw the line there because of consciousness. Why do you draw the line there?
I don't call it consciousness. I call it conscious experience. There is a difference between that because a baby is not conscious, but it is able to respond to external sense stimuli. Like it's not conscious. It's not remembering
like
anything. It doesn't. It doesn't really have a consciousness. Not the way that we think about what consciousness is. But it is responding to external sense stimuli, and it is now attached. The brain is now attached to the rest of the body at 25 weeks. So that's 25 weeks. I'm perfectly okay with that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. It sucks because we agree on this. I wanted to argue with you. Let's see.
You got to be less reasonable. That's the problem. The only way that you get into an argument with me is you got to be less. You got to be a not reasonable person.
Gotcha. I have to be wrong. That's the key.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Good talk, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Are you subscribed?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Great, fabulous, love it. Yeah, I'm such a tiny YouTuber. So even like one, I'm just like yes, progress. You know.
Listen, man, get yourself, dude. I get it. So all right, man. You have,
appreciate it. Thank
dude.
you. Yep. All right, let's see here. Where's the 2702? Well, that was fun. Nice early debate. We can. We're gonna start the show soon. We still got a little bit more time. I think maybe 9 more minutes or so. I'm gonna turn up the music while we are playing. Let's take a look here. Oh shoot! I keep forgetting that I just have it in my volume mixer. I just have my volume mixer off to the side. Ooh, look at that music. That music. Sadly, we do not get we will not be graced by Daniel's presence. Very sad to hear that we are not graced by Daniel today. He had to go do something. I always told him, like, listen, you do not have to do this, right? You're obviously coming here volunteer. I'm not paying you anything. And so, like, you absolutely do not have to show up. I'll read some of the comments though. Let's see here. I'd rather have 60% of what I could get in choice of the alternative is 0%. I completely agree with you. Let's see. Because if you're in favor of killing babies, you need a line or a slogan to present it. Choice? I think a woman's right to choose. Also, it's not even like pro-life. It's only pro-life in favor of the baby. And if like the mother, however the mother feels, that doesn't matter. So it's almost like it's anti-pro-life. They also don't care if on any kind of food stamps or paternal leave or anything that actually helps children. Because they're Republicans and they don't like life. They just like control. That's really what it is. Bobro says, "I love your shirt, Amender." Thank you. I appreciate that. Someone says it looks like it came from Goodwill or something. That was wild. I'm just like, my goodness. I didn't think it's a bad shirt. I was just like, let me just put the shirt on. I've been wearing the same shirt all the time. So I thought, hey, let's try a different shirt on. I've been, just FYI, I've been having a blast playing just Diablo 2. It's a lot of fun. And nightmare mode is more fun. It at least feels like somewhat of a challenge now. But there are some parts where I'm just like, this is annoying. Like, for example, these... I'm not a big fan of these archer skeleton dudes. They deal a lot of damage, and you just have to avoid it. Like, right now, I'm just freaking... I gotta keep, like, backing up. It's crazy. All right. Super mana. We got some gold. Look at this freaking archer skeleton. There's 3 of them. How do I get to the archer skeleton? Can I not die? Can I not die? I'm just dropping a portal here, just in case. Very annoying. I don't like archer skeleton. Alright, come on. Kill the archer skeleton. Die. No! No, 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 no. Don't die. 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 We're walking. We're walking. We're walking. Why are there so many archer skeleton? I thought I killed them. All right, I am out of. I have no healing potions. I'm leaving. Forget this. I'm leaving. I don't like the archer skeletons. They hit too hard. All right, let's see here. Drognin, trade. Honestly, I would have liked Daniel's advice here because he would set me straight for this game. He knows all about this game. We got some unidentified stuff. What do we got here? 124 attack damage. Yeah, that's pretty cool, but not what I need. Let's see. Don't need it. Don't need. This is unidentified. Let's take that. All right. Let's just. There we go. Let's talk to Atma. Get her health up. And then stash. We got a shale rune. Let's take a look here. We got our key. Looks good. Looks good. What about my posh? We're good. We're good. We're ready to go back. Palace. Cellar. 158 gold. All right. Stupid freaking archer. There's like a bunch of these stupid skeleton archers. Die. 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 Please. Please. Like, please stop existing. Just stop existing. Jeez. Thank you. Good God. I had to use like all my mana just for that. Ridiculous. Scroll of identify. I'll take it. We got rancid gas. Okay. Nothing. Okay. Moving on. Moving on. We got to go down. All right. Palace cellar level 3. 3-0. Where are we going? Got more demons over here. They're called invaders. What does that mean? How are they an invader? Like they're underneath a palace. They're just like hanging out under the palace. Give me that bone helm. Gold. We got Vile Crawler. He's got mana burn. He's magic resistant too. Great. Let me see what I can do here. Hold on. Let's see. Ah, that hurts. All right, hold on. Let's try that again. Is he... How magic resistant is he? Hold on. There's too many of these guys. Let's cull the herd a little. Got him. All right. Gothic shield. Bobro says, stop getting hit by an archer snake. Try. I'm trying, Bobro. Do you not see me try? Greater healing potion, super mana potion, healing potion. Okay. Double bow. Double bow. 2 of them. Ceremonial spear. You must die. Alright. My sorceress is doing quite well. No, I just see you fail. Mwahahaha, says Bobro. Got a small charm here. Let's see. We got an unidentified bone helm. Ain't nothing. That, don't need it. What about that charm? Anything good? 9 to mana. That's like worthless. That doesn't do anything. That's worthless. Guys, that's worthless. The electricity is quite powerful. I know. It works great. I just walk up and just right click and they're dead. At least for the most part. Unless, of course, if they're immune to electricity, in which case that's very annoying. I have to like switch to a much weaker item. Like my character is just designed for lightning. So she deals like a lot of damage in lightning. I think I gotta go. Nope, that's not where we need to be going. This music's kind of cool. All right, looks like we're ready to start the show. Let's go. Starting the show. Hold on a sec. Let me. I think I gotta close out of Discord because every single time, for whatever reason, it just does this thing where it doesn't. You can't hear it. Reconnect. I think I'm there. Where's my event? Where's my event? Where's my event? There it is. It's like way the heck down there. Speak on stage. Hello. Hello. Welcome. 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 Welcome to the show. Welcome to my show. I have it 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see. Do I do entire screen? Yeah, I think I got to do entire screen so that way you can hear the calls. That's why I'm doing that. Okay, I have a mayor school says, what do you think about Israel Palestine? Yeah. I think that you can separate the concept of being anti-Semitic and like being against Israel. I think that there is a person like Benjamin Netanyahu that I think is committing war crimes that needs to be stopped. And I believe that the Palestinians do need their own spot to live. Whether that be within Israel, outside of Israel, I don't know. But right now, I do believe that Israel is committing a genocide. Yes, that's where I'm at with it. And I don't think that's a hot take. I really don't. I am taking a... Let's see here. We got a savant who would like to... they want to argue abortion is immoral. All right, let's bring him in. In a moment, Classy, I will invite you. All right, give me one quick second, okay? I got to turn down my music, and I'm going to put on Do Not Disturb for the phone. So just give me one quick second, okay, Savant?
Yeah.
Get that down to 1%.
All right.
And just going to do D&D on my phone. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I guess to start out, I think this would be useful if I sort of understood your position. So you believe that, I guess you would say that abortion is moral or morally neutral, for example. So do you believe that, for example, the zygote is a person with rights, and that, it's still that a woman should still have the right to terminate the pregnancy despite that? Or do you believe that, for example, in early stages of pregnancy, the unborn child should not be afforded any rights?
I do not believe that the zygote should be afforded rights, unless, of course, if the mother decides so.
Okay, I see. So I guess I'll sort of lay out my case and then we can discuss it. So I would say that my belief that the zygote is a person with rights has to do with the fact that I believe it can be significantly harmed. So, for example, someone with SEPA or someone who cannot feel physical pain is still being harmed when they're killed since their lifespan is being reduced. And the burden of sort of, for example, a disease in healthcare is often measured by reduction in life years, for example, which includes both sort of reduction in quality of life and the reduction in the amount of life that someone will live in the future. And I would say that these are harms that could easily occur to even a human in the early stages of development, even if they don't have conscious experiences yet. And then I would say that, so for example, if let's say it was possible to sort of go into a pregnancy and mutilate, for example, an unborn child so that they're born sort of, let's say, without the ability to see or without the ability to hear, I think that's pretty clearly harmful. So it shows that they can be harmed in some ways. And of course, if you removed sort of more conscious experiences, like you blinded them and you made them deaf, for example, I think that would be more harmful and not less harmful. So I guess if we follow that to its natural conclusion, then removing just all of their conscious experiences through abortion is, I think, pretty clearly committing some harm against the unborn child. And I guess the big thing would be to distinguish this from sort of contraception, because I think that's sort of the slippery slope of where people tend to argue when you start making this argument from potentiality. So I think that there's a pretty easy way to distinguish why contraception wouldn't be harmful, even if we afforded rights to individuals with no conscious experiences yet. So I don't think that I think that impeding bodily functions that would cause someone utility in the future, such as impeding someone's ability to see or impeding a child's ability to grow, can be harmful. I even think that, for example, starvation can be a harm, and we can have sort of parents can have moral obligation to prevent starvation by offering nutrients. However, I don't think that adding completely new bodily functions is necessarily a duty. For example, if somebody wanted a surgery that would add a third arm to their body, I don't think we would be under a moral obligation to give that to them. So even if we granted gametes potential personhood, I don't think that they would have necessarily a right to merge with another gamete in the same way that, an adult isn't entitled for someone to do an operation to add a third arm to their body. So that kind of goes over my case. That's a bit wordy, but hopefully we can sort of narrow into what our points of disagreement are there.
Okay. I mean, I guess my main point of disagreement, and I probably had labeled it earlier, is whether or not that the mother cares. I mean, I agree with you that it's possible to cause harm onto a fetus, right? Therefore, establishing personhood. But I don't think that's really what matters. I think what matters is whether or not that the mother wants to undergo the potentially life-threatening procedure.
Okay. So just to be clear, because I definitely understand what your point is, what I was just addressing is it a person with rights? So I would say that I think your argument is more about even if the zygote is a person with rights, the mother isn't under an obligation to go through with the pregnancy.
No, I'm saying that the rights are only bestowed if the mother cares about it.
So what would be, I would say, in your view, the distinction between why zygote is only a person if the mother cares about it, but
because the mother is the one that has to undergo the life-threatening procedure.
Sure. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you have a newborn who, let's say, needs a kidney from their parents, or is on life support or something, and I don't know. But I would say you would probably argue that their parents don't have an obligation to donate a kidney to the child, but that wouldn't make them not a person.
Correct.
Okay. So even if
because the person who is there is already born, whoever had undergone the risk, that has already happened. So it would be irrelevant as to whether or not that somebody has to undergo a potentially life-threatening procedure. Right. It is still ultimately up to the person who wants to undergo the life-threatening procedure. And so if a parent said, I don't want to give my kidney to a child, well, then that's unto them to make that decision.
Okay, but that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not the child is a person, right?
That doesn't have anything to do with whether or not the child is a person. No, we do grant personhood based on whether or not we care about it.
Wait, so personhood of anybody is dependent on whether or not we care about that.
That's correct.
So if there was a newborn who needed a kidney and the parents didn't care about them, you wouldn't view the newborn as a person?
No, we see it. Okay, fair enough. We see it as a person. The question is whether or not that we care about it.
Okay, so the whether or not we care about it. Okay, so I guess this might be sort of a semantic thing that I'm saying, because I think I do need to sort of address what you're saying about the pregnancy, which is, so we agree that sort of some potential harm could occur to the zygote or fetus.
Nope.
But the question is,
Nope. The
or
potential.
some
No, the
harm.
potential harm is on the mother. Not. I don't care about the fetus. What happens
But you
is there is harm on the mother. And every single pregnancy, by the way, is potentially life-threatening. Literally every single one of them. You're not even aware that it's life-threatening until it is. And it occurs as often as 10% of pregnancies. That and the body never returns to its original state after after a pregnancy. The hormones change, the body changes, the fat placement ratios change. That body will never be the same again, no matter what. And I just think that should be left up to the mother to decide, don't you?
So let me first. I want to address something that might have been confusing. I'm not saying that a zygote is a fetus. I was just sort of saying that an unborn child could be a zygote.
You answer my
or
question, though?
And I'll address that, but that might have been confusing. So I guess what I would say is, so you said that you don't care about the harm to the zygote, but I don't think, I think even if you don't care about someone, there can still be kind of the harm that I established in lifespan reduction. So what you said is that there's a burden on the mother, and I agree there is a burden on the mother. However, I would argue that parents have certain obligations to their children, and I think the question there is kind of where we draw the line on that, because I think that most of us would agree that a parent should not allow their child to starve.
You didn't
for
answer my
example.
question.
Well, that's kind of the point that I'm getting to, is you said that. Well, sorry, could you rephrase the question, because I thought I was answering it.
There is an inherent harm to the mother. And I just feel that if there is going to be an inherent harm to the mother, I believe that should be up to the mother to decide as to whether or not they undergo such a procedure.
Okay, so I guess what I would say is, if you have, let's say in ancient times when infanticide was very common, where people wouldn't necessarily even directly kill their child, they would just sort of leave it out to die to like the elements, like infanticide through exposure. Would we agree that parents still had a duty not to sort of abandon their child after it was born?
Yes.
And just like leave it to die? Okay. So even though raising a child could easily be a large burden in that time, and there would also be permanent effects on the body through physical labor, you can have, like, caring for a child for 18 years, that can have effects on the body because they have to sort of labor to get food for the child. They have to take care of the child. And, you know, if the child has an illness, it can be, you know, a lot of difficult labor that they're going through. So in your mind, what distinguishes that labor that they're doing after the child is born from, for example, the burden of pregnancy?
You still haven't answered my question. I'd be glad to answer your question, but you need to answer my question.
Okay.
Do you believe that it ought to be up to the mother to decide whether or not that they want to undergo a life-threatening procedure?
To undergo, I don't think abortion is a life-threatening. You're referring to pregnancy, right?
Yes.
So I'm referring to general cases, so not where it's like a large probability of the mother dying, but I'll concede that there's some risk to the mother's life in every pregnancy.
Well, not just a risk to the mother. Like, there's a lot of negative outcomes that are incurred
negative
that are
outcomes.
permanent, that never ever go away. Don't you think that should be up to the person?
Well, I don't agree with your position. I believe that it would be immoral for them to not provide.
So it should
care
not
for the
be up to
child.
the mother. Who should it be up to?
Well, I'm arguing in terms of morality. So even if you made sort of a legal case,
So who decides morality?
Who decides morality? I don't think morality is for sort of us to decide.
Well, it kind of is. We do it all the time.
Then I could just say I'm deciding right now that my position is the moral one.
So you decide? You're the decider?
I mean, why not? You just said that we decide morality.
Okay. Well, I don't think that you would be qualified, I guess. Like, so like what
Okay,
I should
but
do
then
is like
who
every
decides
woman
who's
that's in the
qualified?
hospital, we should ask Savant as to whether or not that they should have a child.
But okay, but I'm not sure I understand your position. So what makes someone
Hmm?
qualified to decide
Oh,
morality?
typically government and law. That's usually what
Okay, but
is the
I mean,
our ultimate deciders. The problem that I'm having is that this is the problem that I have when it comes to any pro-life position, right? Because anytime that I have this discussion, they never ever want to own up to what their position is. The position for a pro-life person is they ultimately believe that the life-threatening procedure ought ultimately be up to a Supreme Court representative or an elected representative 100 to 1,000 miles away.
but I'm
I feel like you can
confused.
be pro-life. You could be pro-life in a pro-choice world. You're aware of that, right?
Sure.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Well, I guess I'm a bit confused because a minute ago you said that morality was up to the government, and now you're opposing the government enforcing morality on people. So if are you saying
Well,
that it's
I'm
not up
saying
to the
that
government?
moral positions, right? It ultimately is enforced through law. That's how it happens.
Enforced. Okay.
Right.
But
And so
whether
so
something
the
is
ultimate decider of whether or not that people can get abortions versus not get abortions is it shouldn't be up to the mother, right? But instead it ought be up to a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away. I don't find that to be particularly effective, nor do I find it moral, right? Because it is the
okay.
mother that has to undergo a life-threatening procedure and then ultimately change their body for the rest of their lives without their decision to actually go through that.
Okay, so you believe that it's morally justified for them to make that choice to get an abortion in
Yes.
the majority of cases? Okay.
Well, I
So
think
I guess we can
they have a strong argument that the mother is the one who has to undergo the life-threatening procedure.
sure.
This is not different for any procedure. Even if, for example, let's say, for example, that your kid needed a kidney, or you're under no obligation to give that kidney,
You don't
right?
think it
Because
would
it's a
be
potentially
immoral?
life-threatening procedure. It could kill you, or maybe you just, let's assume that your child will die. You are still at no obligation to give that kidney. That's a really good example, by the way. I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Okay. So I was gonna go there because I think this is getting more into the details, which I like. So the first point I was gonna make, there's actually two. I think I'll just go with the simpler argument first because that's probably gonna be easier to explain. So I think that the argument you're making is I would still say that even if not on a legal level, I think morally the right thing to do would be to save your child's life if you could donate a kidney to them. But I guess let's say for the sake of argument that they don't have that obligation. That
Hold
that's
on. Morally, I would
yeah,
even agree with you morally. Like, honestly, like me personally, if I got a girl pregnant, I would say, okay,
yeah.
listen, I'm going to be ultimately responsible. And I feel I would say, go ahead and have the child. If you don't want to take care of the kid, no problem. I won't seek child support. I won't do anything. I would take care of the baby. That would be what I would do.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
but
So that
but under no at no point are you under any obligation to do so. That's my
okay.
problem.
Okay. So I think we agree a little bit more than I expected, but that makes sense. So I think I can now sort of point out where I think we disagree. So I don't just think that abortion is failing a moral duty in helping the child. I think that it crosses over into also being a direct harm, and I'll explain why that is. So let's say you have, I don't know, an adult who's carrying a child around, and they carry them into like a forest, and then they leave the child behind and walk away and leave the child in the forest. Are they just failing to help the child, or did they, by carrying the child into the forest and
The
then leaving it
baby
there
the baby is
directly?
already born. This is not analogous.
Okay,
You're talking about a baby. They've already gone through the life threatening procedure, and so obviously you are required by law to take care of that child.
but I think a minute ago you said that laws were not a good benchmark for morality. So no,
I
agree.
believe that laws is how we just is how morality is applied. That's what I said. I don't believe laws
So
are morality. I believe that
okay,
morality stems from human reason. And
mhm,
when we come to a moral conclusion, we establish that moral conclusion with law.
sure. So I would say that even let's say it was illegal to abandon children in the forest, and somebody carried a
Well,
child
it
into the
is
forest.
already illegal to abandon a child in the
Okay, but
forest.
this is a hypothetical. So I'm saying like let's say in ancient Rome or someplace where it was legal to abandon children,
Okay.
somebody took a child into a dangerous place and left them there. Would you, I guess, agree that they're directly harming the child by putting them that in that position and then removing support from the child?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say that's in this situation similar to pregnancy, and that even if the pregnancy was accidental, like let's say maybe you
No, the
walk into a
pregnancy already
forest.
happened. It's just not
Okay, but
the thing that I care about. You have ripped that away, and then all you have is a child and a neglectful parent. In which case, yeah, I mean the person should be held like responsible. Even in a society, like I would want to change the laws to say, okay, it should be like this. You know,
okay.
it's just not analogous. It's not the same thing. I'm concerned about the
No.
fact that it harms the mother if they decide to go through with that.
So I think I can try and make this a little more analogous. I think I see more of what you're saying now. Because a minute ago you said the pregnancy already happened or the conception already happened. So now they're in this position of do they continue supporting the child? But I think we could say the same thing in the position of when the adult has already walked into the forest with the child. They have the child, they're in the middle of this forest, and then they decide to go leave them behind. At that point, couldn't the adult, turn to you and say, well, that already happened. I'm already in the forest. And if I carry this child out of the forest, it might give me back problems. Maybe it's a long hike out of the forest, and there's going to be
This is
physical effects
again
on my
not
body.
analogous at all, not even remotely. Even if I
So
try to
explain.
work, well, again, because here's the thing. Okay, let me just help. I have the list here. Give me a second. So, okay, I got news for you. If you're in a forest and you find a baby, uh, that doesn't give you urinary incontinence, nor does it give you pelvic organ prolapses. Nor does it require you to get physical therapy or surgery to help manage the pain. It it
Mhm.
it also doesn't give you belly pooch. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Uh,
Well, I know there
It
are a
doesn't give
lot
you
of
back pain, and it doesn't give you core weakness. It doesn't
what.
cause your breasts to become saggier where they were once perkier. It doesn't change where your fat gets placed. It doesn't cause hyperpigmentation. Do you see my problem, right? These things
Well, I
never
see.
return post pregnancy. And I just think it needs to be up to the mother to decide, hey, I don't mind my body going through these changes.
Well, I think I don't think the point of the analogy isn't that all the health effects are exactly the same, but I think there can be a scenario where carrying a child out of the forest would have very taxing effects on the body. So, for example, back pain is one that you listed. I think carrying a child could definitely give you back pain,
Carrying a 10-pound
especially if you
child.
have,
What are you doing? What are you, 90? Are you in the woods? You
well,
need to
let's
be
say
in a
it's a
nursing
90-year-old
home
person. Well, I think
and if it
that
is a
carrying,
90-year-old that physically can't help the baby, then
no, they can.
we wouldn't even hold that person responsible for the death of that child because they would be physically incapable of taking care of the baby. I don't know what they're doing in the middle of the woods.
No, we're talking about someone who's physically capable of carrying the child. I'm not saying like maybe a 5 minute walk. I'm saying like maybe you're hiking deep into the wilderness and now you're going to have to hike out of the wilderness with caring for another person, and that's physically taxing. And you can't this is a scenario where they can.
Okay,
They know that
well,
they can carry
if
the
they
child out.
physically couldn't,
No,
then
they
we
can.
wouldn't even hold them legally liable. is
So
my
they
point.
can, but it will just have negative effects on their body.
It's a 10-pound baby. I don't know if you walked several miles and a 10-pound baby is just too darn much. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't think, but it's not 10 miles. It's like hiking,
No,
let's say
I said 10 pounds. I said 10 pound.
10 pounds, yeah. But walking a long distance with a 10-pound baby that you have to care for, like maybe like if they're rope climbing or something, and it's physically taxing. Let's say for the sake of argument that because of the environment they're in, it's physically taxing to carry the child out of that environment.
I
but they would
suppose
still,
if you drive to this insane conclusion where it would cause so much damage on the body to carry this 10-pound baby, then yeah, you would not be obligated to take the baby out of the woods. Well, it's a good thing that we don't live in this fantasy world, and in reality, carrying a 10-pound baby would literally do nothing to you, as opposed to like a pregnancy, which does a lot to you.
okay, but it's not.
Right, because
What was I gonna say?
and
It's not
ultimately,
just
like
carrying
what
the child; it's also caring for them.
are you
Okay.
okay? What is your position? Are you in favor of any abortion?
I'm not arguing for like every extreme edge case. I'm just saying in the general case of pregnancy.
I'm just asking you, what is your position?
I'm saying that in the general case of pregnancy, I think that abortion is immoral. Like in
Do
the
you
majority of
okay?
cases.
Hold on. Whether or not you think it is immoral or moral is independent as to whether or not that you should think that that ought to be backed up by law. That's the pro-choice,
Okay.
pro-life argument. If you want to make the decision and say, me, myself, I think it is immoral to have an abortion, great. Now my next question becomes, okay, do you think that that ought to be backed up by law?
Sure, I believe it should be backed up by law. Since I
Okay,
think that's
all
the
right,
only part where we
cool.
kind of
So,
disagree.
so the whole immoral thing, you think it ought to be up to a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away
Sure.
to decide, not the mother.
I believe that to enforce moral duties to children.
Okay. Well, I believe no. See, you're baking into the definition like that it is inherently wrong, right? Because once the baby is born, now okay, the risk is done. It's over. Okay, the risk has already been incurred. Now what you have is that you have a baby who now possesses their own autonomy, and we live in a society where we try to protect people's autonomy because that leads to a better off society.
Okay, well, I think we agreed earlier on that taking care of a child in like ancient times for 18 years could be physically taxing. And it seemed to me that then you were agreeing that there was an obligation not to abandon the child.
Yes, because it's already born.
Okay, but then carrying the child, so I thought we agreed that the zygote could in some ways be harmed, similar to a born child.
I
But
don't
then
necessarily.
it-
We harm kids all the time for the benefit of children. We do it all the time. We take them to the dentist, we force them to take showers, and we do all sorts of things that hurt kids. Harm in and of itself doesn't mean bad. It just depends on
Okay,
what
but-
exactly is being incurred and why, right? Like
Okay,
for
but-
example, if there is a woman, right, that is crack addicted and they're homeless and they're just looking for a place to score some more rock. So there they are with their drug dealer and they just have sex and they just completely neglect this child as they get pregnant because ultimately they're just there to score more rock. But then they got to do something with this child. I don't think this person should be having a baby. They need to have an abortion. They need care. They're not in a position to take care of a baby. And
Okay,
there's a very
so-
strong possibility it could actually kill them if they try to deliver the baby to term because they're a crack mother.
Okay, I think I want to just be clear here. So we agreed that there was some harm that could happen to the unborn child. I think we might not have completely settled that as much as I thought. So when you say that we take kids to the dentist, these are things that we're doing that prevent more harm than they cause, right?
Well,
Like
but
if
it does cause short-term harm, does it not?
But
I
that's
agree
my
with you.
position
I
here.
agree with you though that it does
Okay.
prevent harm in the future. That's fine. I'm not against that.
Okay.
I'm simply I guess like the problem that I have is that you often when it comes to pro-life arguments, it often comes at the detriment of the mother. Right. And I just think
Okay.
like most women, they're not going to want to get an abortion. Most women aren't interested in getting an abortion. This is basically for people who genuinely need that service. That's what I believe.
Well, I feel like there must be some distinction in your mind between these two scenarios, even though I think you've agreed
No, I just
on a
don't
lot
think
of.
it should be up to a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away. Very simple. Very simple.
Okay. So let's take the example of someone in ancient times raising a child for 18 years, physically taxing on the body, perhaps even more physically taxing than pregnancy is today, to take care of a child back then for 18 straight years. We agreed that's an obligation they have to the child. Uh, that's a greater physical, even though it's a greater physical burden than pregnancy. And at the same time, zygote through what I was saying, the quality adjusted life years that politicians are trying to save, the amount of life years that are being saved with that child and with an unborn child are basically equivalent. And the
What? Wait,
burden
repeat
of
that.
pregnancy versus raising a child in ancient times is kind of equivalent. And that's a scenario where we would say it would be good for a politician to enforce 100 miles away to say that people can't just abandon their children.
Why do we?
So
Let
to
me
me,
ask you this: why do we have like? Do you think that we have laws?
to protect people who would otherwise be harmed,
Why
or
do we want to
to
protect people?
because I think that people have rights.
You think we protect people because people have rights, or do you think people have rights because we want to protect people?
Well, I think when I say like moral rights, I think people have moral rights because
Let me help
they
you
can
out. Do you
suffer a
think
loss.
that I believe that justice systems are created specifically to mitigate harm on societies,
Yeah, sure.
right?
No, I agree. That
Okay.
was my
All
entire
right.
point,
So let
was
me
that
ask you
reducing
this,
someone's
right?
lifespan is a harm.
So the whole purpose of a law is to mitigate harm.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's the case, would you say having more poverty, is that good or bad for a society?
Well, if you're talking about a poor person being existing when they would otherwise have been killed in utero, I think that the killing them is more harmful
Well,
than the
the mother
poverty.
is the one that has to make that decision, I think. Right? I'm
Okay, but
simply saying that if a woman has that decision, then they can decide they have more control over their body. They can decide, okay, I'm not ready right now. I'm going to have an abortion now. Maybe I'll try later, several years down the line when I have my life straight, which completely justified, totally justifiable. Right?
uh,
You're advocating for the society that increases poverty, it increases drug use, it increases or worsens educational outcomes, and it increases homelessness. All of these things are increased in specifically states that have heavy restrictions or no abortions.
I think I would say that in the scenario where, like, in ancient times when it was physically demanding to take care of a child, or much more than it is today, from like through 18 years of their life, I think that having to take care of a child would probably increase poverty, especially if the family is poor. It might decrease educational outcomes for the parent who would have, had had more time on their hands. So I think arguably we're both advocating for a society with more of that if it protects someone from having their lifespan
Yeah.
reduced by decades.
Yeah.
So I
Let
think
me ask you this. Are you in favor of the ultimately what you care about is the child? Yes.
sure, not having their lifespan reduced by a significant
Great,
percentage.
fabulous. How do you feel about food stamps?
I'm in favor of them.
Really, you're in favor of food stamps? Okay. What about
Yeah,
school vouchers for lunch?
school vouchers.
Yeah, like they get free
Sure.
lunch.
I support that. I think we
Really?
should reduce hunger. Yeah.
Whoa, based. What about the Pell Grant?
Uh, Sorry, it escapes me what that was. Is that for like colleges?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I support funding, education as long as
Paternal
it's,
leave?
Maternity leave? Sure, yeah.
No, but
I
yeah.
think that would probably reduce abortions as well, so I would support it.
Okay. All right. Sick. Well, at least you're consistent there, so I'll grant you that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still stuck on the fact that it ultimately, I just think that the mother has to undergo a great deal of risk, and because they have to undergo a great deal of risk, I think they're the ones that ought be the ultimate decider, not a politician. I'm sorry, it just I don't find we don't do this for anything else. It's only specifically with abortion that appears to be the case, and what's even the most frustrating is that oftentimes they base this argument off of a religious one, saying that all life is precious and thou shalt not kill, even though God loves a good baby killing. It's wild. There's so much in the Bible that's like, dude, I love killing babies.
Okay, well, the argument I guess I was trying to make is that I think we do this with sort of born children, even when the burden is significantly high for taking care of them. I think we've kind of been making the same points, I guess. So I guess I can let the next person come on,
Okay.
and you can discuss something else. All right,
Sounds good.
good discussion. All right, bye.
That was Savant. Give me a moment. I got to get my timestamps. All right. Anybody want to put their hand up? Anybody want to put their hand up? I can also turn on my phone. Let me turn off my do not disturb. Feel free to call in. Put your hand up. Whoever's up first. Otherwise, I'm playing more Diablo. Oh, we got a phone call. That was quick. Watch my live if you aren't what I'm streaming. If you can't hear. You are on the line with First Amender.
Hi there. I'm trying to get in touch with this debate here.
Yeah, what's up? I'm right here. How you doing?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Hold on. Do me a favor.
Yeah.
You are very, very loud. You're actually clipping. So if you could do me a
Okay.
favor and just get your mouth away from your mic. Either
Right
that
on.
or if there's a possibility to turn it down. Whatever you need to do. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. So what
Yeah,
kind of?
still
I
loud,
kind of want to
still
get
loud.
an
You're
idea
gonna have
of
to-
where.
I'm so sorry.
Just
You're
don't too close.
you're clipping really, really hard.
Okay.
See what you can do to lower your microphone volume. I don't know if you're using a.
Yeah, I'm using a cell phone.
Okay. Yeah, just get that the phone away from your mouth. Go ahead. Try again.
Okay. Is this any better?
Much better. All right. Yeah. Give me a testing.
Okay.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Great. All right. We're gonna. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna timestamp this. All right. What would you like to talk about?
So first, can I get sort of an idea of what your core political positions are?
I would be a social democrat. If you had to guess what my positions are, it would be similar to what the Netherlands argues. If you wanted specific policies that I'm interested in, I can provide that for you. But I am a Democrat. I used to be a Republican and a Libertarian, and I just kept reading.
Right. Yeah. I get that. I probably had a similar thing. I used to be more leftist and did more reading from there, and kind of became more right wing, I suppose you could say. Is there anything in particular you read that sort of led you to where you are?
There's many things that I've read. I have a giant book list that I could review with you. That of just things that I have read over time. I mean, if you want, I can run you through it. But I don't know. You may find it kind of boring because I'm just going to be rattling off a bunch of books.
If you, what would be your top 3?
It's hard to say.
Right.
The Bible was pretty big up there. I mean, that rattled my
Great
cage. Another one that rattled my cage was Bob Woodward's book Rage. And then there was another one that changed my understanding of economics, which was called Austerity by Mark Blyth.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that. Mark Bliss. I'm gonna look
Yeah.
him up quick.
What
So do you kind of?
what are your politics?
I'm probably, if you look all the way at the bottom right of the political spectrum, like a minarchist, where the founding fathers
Ayn
were.
Rand.
What's that?
Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand.
Yep.
What about it?
I'm saying you would likely be an objectivist if you're that far down.
I think objectivism is useful as like an ideology, but I don't know if I don't think I explicitly say that, right?
Okay. Anyway, what did you want to argue exactly? Anything in particular?
I just kind of hopped in. I saw you talking with the guy talking about abortion last. I don't know how well of a job he did, but we could talk maybe economics and why. Are you like pretty pro social policies and like government spending and all that?
Oh yeah, big time. Yep.
Big time. Okay.
Yep.
Do you think it's worth like driving a country into bankruptcy through these social programs? Or do you think like it's kind of important to balance that?
I think there's a level of balance that is necessary. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any examples of like social programs working and not bankrupting the country?
Yeah, Pell Grant is a really good one. Food stamps is another good one. Social Security and Medicaid, also very good ones.
Like in the United States.
Also programs that just have a very high MVPF.
Okay. So here's the thing. I'm gonna give you my general synopsis, right, on why I think social programs are bad. They effectively increase demand artificially without increasing supply. Whereas, like, if you let the free market sort of handle it, it can inherently handle
What happens
scarcity.
when you increase demand?
Prices go up.
Yep. And then what happens when prices go up?
Things get more expensive.
Yeah, that's true. But what happens after?
After?
Yep.
People have less money.
Oh, what about the part? Right? What about the part in your Econ 101 book that told you that more businesses try to prop up in order to make more profit? Right? You remember when if T-shirts go from $10 to $20, yes, you're paying more for that T-shirt. But what happens is that people naturally want to make money off of that. And so what they do is they end up opening a T-shirt business because they know that they can make money on it. And because there's more supply, that would decrease prices and just incur a greater amount of trade.
So you're saying that because prices go up, prices go down?
Prices go up and then prices go down. Yep, through supply. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So what happens when you artificially increase that demand as prices go up without increasing the supply, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there can be an argument. Yeah, I mean, if a supply does not increase, then yes, then prices just go up. Yeah, that's a bad thing. Sure.
Right, sure. So we have that in the U.S. with healthcare right now. And
yes, I agree with you. We have decided to privatize our healthcare system within combination of very heavy regulations, and it's often to bolster the insurance companies. Which has resulted in the very expensive treatments that we have.
Well, the reason why treatments are so expensive is because it is heavily regulated. You're spot on with that. We don't have a free market of healthcare. We have this weird, so here's the thing. I agree that socialized is better than our current system. However, the free market is better than both those. We have the worst possible system right now,
so
which is the government. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. Just basically we have the government and corporations working in tandem to make the most profit. Where, you have someone who can't afford health care, the government says, don't worry, we'll pay for it. And they're like, if the government's going to pay for it either way, we'll just jack up the prices.
Okay, so you feel that the free market, it would be a better way of dealing with healthcare than, say, a socialized system, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I think you can look at real-world examples of that.
I can give you a free-world example. Yeah. Did you know that dental in India is actually very inexpensive?
Are we just looking at prices or quality or?
Well, no, I was just saying dental, right, in India, it's got a very free market, kind of a system. Almost anybody can pick up shop with a pair of pliers, and they just sit there on their rug and a bottle of alcohol to help numb the pain. And, you just show up and you pay a few rupees and you can get your tooth pulled, huh? What do you think?
Think
we should have that in the U.S.?
That doctor there, yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, I would not go to that dentist. There,
Why?
quote, unquote. Because he sucks.
Really? Why? No, wait, no. He's got a pair of pliers and a really good alcohol.
Oh, gets me drunk.
I was just thinking that we should do this free market approach, right? Where anybody, right, can just go and start pulling teeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand, like, why you wouldn't want to do that, I guess.
Because here's the thing, right? When you have socialized healthcare, right? Like, let's say the government is the only one running healthcare, right?
Yeah. Well, do you think that there should be like a regulation on healthcare, maybe?
No.
Okay. So back to the guy who's pulling teeth on the side of the road with a rug and some alcohol and pliers.
Right.
He'll even fit some dentures for you. Did you know that?
What's up?
He'll even fit some dentures for you. Did you know that?
Incredible service on the roadside. Yeah.
And you find that to be acceptable?
No, I'm saying, India is not the best example of a free market.
I agree with you. I'm simply saying, as an example, like we have regulations in the United States. You can't just start pulling teeth. You need to actually be a licensed dentist. You can't just start pulling teeth because that's dangerous, right? It can hurt people. It also can infect people. It's extremely dangerous. So we have regulations to prevent the harm of people. Now, does that in turn make the product more expensive? Yes, it does. But I would say that a subsidized healthcare system where we can actually lower the cost on consumers by consolidating it into a single payer healthcare system would be far more adequate than having, I don't know, some weird dentist Dabawala kind of figure.
Do you think that, like, if we just got rid of subsidized healthcare in the U.S., it wouldn't go back to, like, how it was in the 1950s or 60s? It would just go back to, it would go to people pulling teeth in the street?
Well, I think that if you decided to pull away against regulations, it would then cut away at many different things that we would be knowledgeable about now. That would be a problem. And so, like, take, for example, using x-rays too often would be an example. I just think that, I'm perfectly okay with regulations. And then when I look at some of the better countries that have better healthcare, they just have a subsidized healthcare system with a single payer system. And oftentimes it's given to you at birth. I mean, heck, we can implement the system in Canada, for example, in the United States. We wouldn't even have to get rid of insurance companies. We can actually keep insurance companies, but it would effectively be a single payer healthcare system where there would be a direct negotiation in order to lower prices. And because it was done throughout a global, through the United States scale, it would be a lot cheaper because of opportunities of scale.
No, yeah, so I agree with you. If it were completely socialized, it would be better. I'll agree with you on that. I just think the free market is better than both of those, right?
Yeah.
And so you brought up Canada. You know that their healthcare is terrible, right? It's really bad.
Comparison to the United States, we don't really have people in Canada going bankrupt and having to sell their house because they need healthcare.
I don't like the United States healthcare system.
But it is true though. They do have to wait longer.
Yeah, like
they do
18
have to
months
wait
on
longer.
average.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. I'll take the wait longer as opposed to, I don't know. Well, hold on. Let's go back. I want to go back to your suggestion. Hold on. I think it would be better if I provided a picture. So I don't know. It's kind of behind by like 12 seconds, but you should see it in about a moment. What do you think?
Okay, let's go.
I mean, we want to do the libertarian, the libertarian dream. Let's remove the regulations and get ourselves some of these Rajasthan, India street dentist.
Why are you so focused on India, bro?
Well,
We're
no,
not-
I'm just giving a free market solution where, at the end of the day, the market would come with the most rational answer, right? Because I remember when I read my economics book, right? I heard about Economics Man. Do you know about Economics Man?
Oh, a little bit.
Where he has
Long
all
time
of the
back.
information and then he comes to the best possible conclusion every time. It's like that.
I don't know why you're so fixated on this, man. This is like, if you assume that we remove regulation and subsidies, you think we're gonna have street vendors pulling teeth?
Yeah, I think if you removed regulation, people will come up with just about anything to make a buck. Yeah, 100%. Right, and
people
often
will
at the
go
expense of their customers. Yeah.
You think people will go and buy that product, right? When they
Yeah,
go down the
I
road?
do. I do. Root canals are expensive, and I gotta tell you, nothing motivates you more than a root canal. It really does. It's it's one heck of a motivator. When you need a root canal, I think you'll take this guy's service. I think you would.
I think I go to a proper dentist with an office.
Why? You don't have enough money for the proper dentist, right? They're asking for their services for the low price of half a Bitcoin, right? This guy is not even asking for a tenth of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, and it's wonderful that you have that choice, right? So here's the
That's
scenario
terrible. Why not just have a socialized healthcare system so that way everybody can get the care that they need? And that we don't
Right,
have
I'll get
Rajasthan
into that, yeah.
street dentists where the poor have to use the street dentist as opposed to like a regular dentist.
Yeah, so I'll get
You
into
realize
that.
we
So
spend
now-
more per person in healthcare than any of these other developed countries that already have social healthcare systems?
So I know that is not true for England. I'm not sure about
What?
other.
No, that's
places. I
definitely
haven't
true.
checked in. Okay. Sure. I mean, you could say if you want. I'll concede that. Yeah, why not? But you keep comparing our current system, which, mind you, I hate. I don't like our current system, right? And acting like that's my perfect libertarian example of healthcare, right?
Well, I mean, like I just don't. The perfect libertarian example, I don't think is a very good solution because I just don't think that the private industry is we've leaned on the private industry and look what it's got us. I'm providing here a metric. The health expenditures per capita in U.S. dollars, and this is 2023. The United States spends on average $13,432 per person on healthcare. That's much more than Switzerland, Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, France, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, Japan. Every single one of these countries have socialized healthcare systems.
Okay. Do you think we have a free market healthcare in the United States?
I think that we have a free market healthcare system that is propped up by government, and they're allowed to double dip effectively. That's what I think.
Yeah,
we
right.
have.
Yeah, because the government says we'll pay for this half, and then you'll pay for the other half. I think that's a bad system. I agree.
Yeah, it's trash.
Right.
Yeah, so we should have a single-payer healthcare system, right?
Right. So you keep referring to the United States like that's an example. I don't like the United States as a model right now. Right.
I agree with you.
1900s, 1950s United States, and we're getting a little better, but
the 1950s and the 1940s, like that wasn't exactly good health care compared to Switzerland or Sweden or the Netherlands or the United Kingdom. We have much better work now, right? And it requires greater specialization. But these specializations also exist in these other countries, but they have socialized healthcare systems. What is an example of a fully privatized? Why do you think that a fully privatized healthcare system would somehow be better than a social healthcare system?
So, like right now, in the United States of America, you can't sue certain companies over injury from treatment received because they have immunity, right? But
you sign a waiver, but that by the way works perfectly within libertarian land. You could just sign a waiver that says, I'm not responsible if something bad happens, and that's completely acceptable in libertarian world.
Yeah, no, I agree. But
so why do you have an issue with that? That's weird.
That's legislation.
That's just the free market, baby.
Yeah, the government saying you can't sue a company over injury is not the free market.
It's not?
In fact, I don't know how much.
Are you saying that people shouldn't be able to sue?
I'm saying people should, and they're legally not able to, right?
Well, no, you sign a waiver.
No, it's
because there's an inherent risk with any.
No,
well, okay,
law.
So if it was
a waiver.
What? No, it's a contract. What do you? Well, I mean, it is. I agree with you. It is law. This is a whole other problem with libertarians. I find it's quite often that they like the free market. They want the free market to exist. Somehow it won't be Mad Max, and somehow they're going to be able to abide by contract law. It doesn't make. I mean, obviously, it doesn't make any sense. You need a government to.
I'm not talking about
abide by contract law.
I'm talking about the Vaccine Injury Act of the United States Congress, which gives legal immunity to injuries received by vaccines. I'm talking about stuff like that.
But
I'm sure
vaccines are a good thing. That's helpful for people. Are you anti-vaccine?
No, they're great. You can't. If you have an injury from a vaccine, you have no legal recourse. Right?
Yeah, because there's an amount of risk. You do get, you are able to seek compensation. There's actually an entire system designed to give you compensation. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the government's for. Sick.
So if you have a bad company that gives a vaccine that injures you, they will never go under because the government will foot the bill.
Well, that's also not true. There are definitely instances where it can be bad enough to where it actually will sink a company for making a particular drug. It's also a very, very high risk to make any drug, for that matter. So yeah, I don't know where you're getting the idea that it's that the drug company is completely immune. I mean, if you're talking about like the COVID shot, right? That was ludicrously successful.
You think the COVID shot was successful?
Oh yeah, very. Yeah, it worked. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. This is the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986. You can Google this yourself if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
You think the COVID vaccine didn't work?
Well, I mean, it worked for a little bit, right?
A little bit?
Here's the thing with yeah, you had to get boosters, right? That was the whole thing. The thing is, too...
Yeah, well, it reduced... Okay, let me ask you this. Are you aware of what it did, mechanistically?
It injected instructions as a spike protein, instructed your cells to create more spike proteins to fight the COVID infection, if I remember correctly.
It created, basically what it was is an amazing patent, really. They created a liposome, which is basically like a little fat bubble. and was able to encapsulate an RNA strand that when this fat bubble would touch a cell, it would allow the fat bubble to enter into the cell wall, and then it would just allow the RNA to be inside of the cell safely and to be processed by the ribosomes. And then the cell would then be prompted to create a spike protein, which was the same exact spike protein that was used for on the actual COVID, which by just simply having the spike protein floating around in your bloodstream as opposed to the spike protein attached to COVID, your immune system was capable of designing a protein cap or learning how to create a protein cap to block that. And so when they actually got COVID, that protein cap would be put onto the COVID virus from the white blood cell. That's what it did. And it was successful. It reduced mortality rates. It helped with how many people were showing up to the hospital needing respirators. It did all of those things.
Right, I'm sure. Yeah.
Do you disagree with that?
No. Sorry if I sound a little sarcastic there.
Well, I know libertarians don't like government, so I just was.
Yeah, you got that right. Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, this is actually a personal thing for me, right? Like for example, I have friends $1,000 less than me, and they're way more successful because they qualify for stuff like WIC and SNAP benefits, all that fun stuff. So it's like I don't.
Did you collect on any federal benefits?
What's that?
Did you ever collect on any federal benefits?
No.
None, really. That's interesting.
I got the COVID stimulus, but I don't think I never signed up for that one.
No, you just given that.
Yeah.
Our boy Donald Trump gave that to us.
Yeah. Twice, right?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, like doubled the deficit or something.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, that was fun.
Can I swear on here? I'm sorry.
No, yeah, you could swear. It's an 18+ show.
Okay, awesome.
Just cool it on certain ones. Like I would appreciate that.
Yeah, sure thing.
Don't start releasing any N bombs. I guess is my point.
Yeah. You know how often I do that. Me being a libertarian.
Oh yeah. Libertarians, they do like that. How do you? You know what? I always like asking this to some libertarians. How do you feel about the age of consent?
So here's the thing, right? I'm a minarchist, right? It's not anarchy. You still have laws in a legal system. It's not like just whatever. I'm a fan of the age of consent.
Okay, cool. So what would you? Okay, then the question becomes: is what would you have? Would you want to get rid of food stamps?
Oh yes, I would.
Man, you think thefts will go up from that? Just curious.
What's that?
Do you think thefts will go up?
No. I think you can look at
no.
Sort of.
Okay. Do you think when parents don't have enough to feed their kids, you really don't believe thefts won't go up? I got news for you. If that parent cares about that child, I think they will do anything and everything to get them enough to eat. Yeah.
But they won't go to a soup kitchen?
I mean, they might.
All right. Yeah, I would.
There's not enough soup kitchens to go around.
Oh yeah.
Do you know how many people are on food stamps?
A lot. Quite a bit. My brother is.
Let's see here. Let's take a look here. Pew Research Centers. April of 2023, 41.9 million people received SNAP benefits.
Right.
41 million. We have what? 350 million?
think it's more than that now. Didn't we just break
got like
400?
How many in the USA? 347 million. That's where we're at.
Right.
Okay, so that's 11.7% of the population.
Yeah, that's about, was it 14% below the poverty line?
So you think, right, 11% of people, if they just suddenly got cut off of food stamps and now they got to all go to soup kitchens, do you really think that the soup kitchens are going to be able to handle all that?
I think if food stamps never existed, absolutely 100%. Like when you put a burden on the market that suddenly, right?
Well, I mean, it's completely unfeasible. I mean, I think if you got rid of food stamps, I think you would see thefts skyrocket. I think you would see homicides skyrocket. I think you would probably see looting in the streets. I think you would see people just being very, very, very angry with their government. Yeah, I mean, I think that is probably if you want socialism in the United States, that's probably the number one way to do it. I think that's a really good way to make an argument for socialism. Yeah.
You think like slavery? Okay, so I want to make it right. Slavery is where the workers own the means of production, right? So it's all collectively owned.
That's not what slavery is.
No. Let me finish this thought. Come on now, play along. So the means of production are owned by the collective, correct?
That's socialism. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't own your own labor then. The collective does.
Don't worry, I'm not a socialist. You don't need to sell me this idea. I'm a capitalist that believes in social safety nets. I'm simply pointing out that nothing would rile up the workers more than a sudden loss of their food.
Oh, I'm not saying we go tomorrow.
I think they would burn. You would see stuff burning. I think that people would start going hungry. You would see stuff burning. And I should also point out that the amount of money that would be required to police this and keep the peace and put people in prison, it would actually cost just as much, if not more, than just simply offering food stamps. This is actually why food stamps actually generate a profit. Because if the antithesis was the case, it would actually result in life being a lot worse for people, and therefore the judicial system would have to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, you're straw manning me again. I'm not saying we get rid of food stamps tomorrow and say good luck, right?
Well, you said you didn't like food stamps.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's not feasible.
Oh, you're talking about getting rid of them tomorrow. Yes, there would be riots, right?
So how would you do it? You would just phase it out? Maybe what if we did hear me out, right? What if we did 5% at a time? 5% every year, we reduce it by 5%. Maybe then people won't be so mad.
Problem with reducing it by 5% is you never hit zero, right?
Oh, okay, you're maybe more. Let's do 10% a year. Maybe then people won't be mad.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, what I would do is I would increase.
How about don't take away food stamps? Is that an option?
No, I don't know. Well, because it's bad economically, right? It's our official.
No, it's really not. You should really look up something. Do you know what Do you know what MVPF is?
MVPF?
Nope. MVPF.
MVPF. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to explain it for me?
Yeah. It is the marginal value of public funds. It is a metric of policy analysts to assess the effectiveness of government spending. There are, in fact, programs that when invested into, the amount that is actually generated is higher than what the initial investment is. We as individuals can already think of investments that we can make and that actually result in beneficial outcomes. Or take, for example, if you decided to put your money into a reasonable stock market portfolio, that it increases in value over time. This is not different for for the United States government. When it comes to food stamps, putting people in prison because they're stealing food would actually cost more money than it were to just provide food stamps to begin with. So the actual amount that is generated is actually higher than what they spend on it. Other examples of this is like the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is a situation where people basically receive money if they're poor to go to college. They receive an X amount to go for Y amount of years. And the end result is that if they don't graduate, they owe the money back. But if they do graduate, they basically get that money for free. What's beneficial about that is because they end up with a college degree, they actually end up paying more in taxes because they're in a higher tax bracket. And because that they're paying more in taxes in a higher tax bracket, the government actually makes money in spades out of you. So not only do people get more educated, they become smarter, and the United States government makes more money off of you by just simply putting some investment into you. This is probably the silver bullet against libertarians. They cannot imagine the idea that a government program actually gives more than what is taken out.
So I have a question. Do you think college is too expensive?
Yes.
You just explained why. Thank you.
No, that's not why.
Yeah, it is. Because when the government started guaranteeing that they'll pay for people's colleges, you know what the colleges did? Yeah. They raised their prices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what also, so what you do is that you can instill price quotas, but just so you're aware, FYI, there's lots of socialized systems when it comes to education. Take for example, when I took a trip over to Ireland, when I was down there, I happened to notice that there was a college called Trinity College. Have you ever seen this place?
No.
It's amazing. It's like a giant castle. It's unironically a castle. I looked at this thing and I was just like, what kind of Harry Potter, kind of school is this? Here, I'll share it with you so you can see what I'm talking about.
I did Google it. I have some pictures.
Yeah, so I have here, and this is an example of Trinity College, and I was just astonished at this college. It was gorgeous. I mean, I walked through the grounds just seeing what it was like, and I just happened to notice that there was a student that was there, and I asked them. I said, man, this college looks really expensive. How much is it to go to this school? He says, oh, yeah, it's really expensive. Very expensive indeed. And I was like, so how much is it? And they said, oh, it's 3,000 euros a year.
Yeah.
What? 3,000 euros a year? Dude, that's how much a class costs in the United States.
Right.
That's insane. It's 3,000.
Right, yeah,
all of their classes, 3,000 euros a year. They have a socialized system. The college can't just arbitrarily increase their prices. We actually have a system very similar to this regarding water as well as electricity. Where we have a private company that does the thing, and the government heavily controls it. So that way they can't just arbitrarily increase the price of water and electricity.
Right.
So why can't we do that with colleges?
Well, because just the free... So do you know what the bureaucratic rule of two is?
No. Why don't you tell me?
Okay. So let's say Bob wants to buy something from the market, right? And he has his money. Well, he can't do that, right? It's socialized. So what he does is he gives his money to a bureaucrat. The bureaucrat takes half and then gives it to the market and gives Bob the product. Essentially, you're adding these layers of bureaucracy that don't need to be there. Mm-hmm. You have to pay someone to manage this bureaucracy to do these jobs, whereas the free market can just handle it. Bob can just buy his product.
So you're saying that it is inherently more efficient because the government does it?
I think it's inherently less efficient because you're adding bureaucracy to something that doesn't need it.
Well, but unfortunately, we have more expensive college and we have more expensive healthcare, but we have this kind of a weird combination of the private companies and government. When I feel like that we could just like move around some things and actually get a beneficial outcome, and instead of just saying, "Hey, listen, government, get out of the way." Let the free market do what it needs to do, and I promise you, you will get cheaper prices.
Yeah.
You really think that that'll happen?
Oh, that's what used to happen.
Except where it doesn't happen.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, I could have a geographic monopoly. Now what are you going to do?
Move somewhere else.
Why not just regulate it? So that way people don't have to move out in like the I don't know, Watertown hellhole where there's like a water warlord that controls all the water. Why not just regulate it? So we don't have water helltown warlord. I can't even imagine if government got out of the way of like, say, like, I don't know, Scientologists. What do you think would happen? You think the free market's going to fix that?
I think Scientologists, if you want to be a part of that cult, have at it.
Yeah, great. They also take over huge regions in Florida.
Yeah, so did the Mormons.
Okay, yeah, that's not a good thing.
When they came here.
So like if government got out of the way, they would have nothing to impede them.
Okay.
So why not regulate them?
Why are they doing that so bad, right?
They're taking businesses in an otherwise vibrant location and they're destroying the businesses, taking it over and leaving them empty because they have the money to do so because they keep receiving donations.
Yeah, you should move somewhere else then. Don't live near Scientologists.
Or just create a government regulation to stop them from doing that. We can actually have a nice town. We don't have to force everyone to move.
See, here's the thing, right? When you start getting into giving the government this sort of authority, right?
Why do we have government?
We have government to protect our rights.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would also behoove you to have some public amenities like roads or buses or water municipalities or electricity or infrastructure? I think that's pretty necessary, don't you think? Enabling contract rights, contract law, building codes.
Yeah. You know that private companies build a lot of buildings too. They build the roads, they run electricity. All I'm saying is take out the middleman.
Could you imagine? Yeah, man. I'm sure, for sure, right? You honestly believe that there wouldn't be, say, a private contractor that is going to want to skip a few steps and potentially make their buildings a lot less safe? You don't think so? You think the free market will be all right?
So you're kind of acting like we didn't really have a free market ever in the United States. Like,
well, we did. It was, we had robber barons during that time and a lot of people died and there was a lot of not good situations. So we were like, let's not do that anymore. Right. Cause the response to the Great Depression was government get out of the way. Let the free market do what it needs to do.
No, the response to the government was make a bunch of social programs, right? And it was
and then that pulled us out. Yeah, I agree with you. That's exactly what happened, and that pulled us out. That's correct. FDR helped with that, and it worked.
It prolonged it, right?
Some arguments could be made that certain policies had prolonged it, but certainly the socialized policies did not. You have to understand that, like, we're living in a post-Keynesian world where we would use like our post-Keynesian economics, where it's like a mix of understanding of both Keynesian and Austrian economics, where ultimately, like, we are aware that spending when there is a deflationary spiral does encourage economic growth. We already know that.
Okay, I'm I'm going to let you go. My wife is pregnant. She's getting a headache listening to you. I don't mean that to be rude or anything like that. I'm sorry. Like, I've had a great discussion with you. I want to call in probably at some point in the future.
Right.
It was very nice talking to you. I had a lovely time.
All right, good talk.
And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, I gave their wife a headache, everybody. That's funny. Debate a libertarian. That's a fun one. That's a good one. I enjoyed that one. What did you guys think? I see Citra has their hand up, so we're going to bring them up. How you doing, Citra? What's going on?
Hi, I'm doing well.
Give me 1 second. I'm putting myself on Do Not Disturb. What did you want to talk about?
In the arguments on abortion, I heard you use the term that we don't give it rights if we don't care. Do you stand by that, or was it like a bit of a mistake?
No, I don't think it's a mistake to point that out. I do think that likely what actually causes people to have rights is whether or not we do care about them. It's quite common that there are things that we don't care about, and then therefore that it just happens. An example of that is, well, I would like it to not be that way, if that helps.
Okay, so it is not a moral claim, but more of a what happens in reality claim.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's like when you like pass somebody, who's begging on the street.
Yeah, but that
we often
then
don't care about
wouldn't be a claim against abortion because, well, now we are talking
yeah, I mean,
about morality.
to be
about,
fair, they weren't really engaging in my claim that. Well, my main claim is that it ultimately hurts the mother to have to undergo that, and so I just think that weighing their options should be up to the mother, not a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away.
Well, yeah, that's definitely
He
true.
wouldn't engage with that.
Also, yeah, it's also I've done some research, and when we talk about even the type of like birth that has the lowest amount of side effects, which is C-section at as soon as viability hits, is still considered major surgery. So there's still a chance of dying.
Yes.
Even though it's lower.
It's not even like that fact. I mean, the hormones are different. Your breasts are different. Your body is different. It's just different from that day forward. It will never retain back to its original luster. And I just think, again, it just has to come up to, it's up to the woman to decide.
Do you know the violinist example or experiment?
I do.
Yeah, because when you concede that the fetus is a human and a person, it is useful to use that example.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have brought up that example in the past. The problem that I have with the example is that it's a little cumbersome. It's like clunky.
Also,
well, just to sit there and explain the entire thing, to like be like, convince them that it's analogous to, it's just, it's very clunky, right? Not that there's anything wrong with the argument. It's just that it's a very cumbersome argument. And so I try to, I have my cleaner argument, I think, is just, it's ultimately harming the mother, and they have to decide. Much less cumbersome. Very easy.
Yeah, I wrote in chat that I wanted to intervene when the previous person brought up socialism as slavery.
I know you would have.
Do you agree with that?
No, of course not. That's just stupid. Socialism is the workers' ownership of the means of production. It has nothing to do with slavery.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I have all of my question answered.
No problem. Glad to assist.
Yeah. Good continuation.
Yeah, no problem. You know, it's funny. Like it only shows us like having 4 people in the modern day debate stage, but on my YouTube channel, there's 17 people listening. So there's that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna move you back down to the stage. I appreciate y'all for listening. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and enable the phones once again. All right, I am now available, so I am available to take a call if you guys want to have a discussion. Otherwise, I'm just playing more Diablo. I'll turn up the music if I don't get any calls within the next, like, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. We'll see. What was I doing? Okay, Arcane Sanctuary. I have to Tal Rasha's tomb, find Horizon's journal in the Arcane Sanctuary. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn up the music for a bit. Hopefully nobody calls. Or, I mean, if somebody calls, that'd be great. That's fine. Give me a sec. I'm going to open up my volume mixer. Did I close my volume mixer? I did. Ooh. Look at that. How it sounds. I love it. All right. Sorry for not responding to your guys' chats. It's just that when I'm in a debate, it's really not possible. Frank Jockle says, what the hell is a liberal? In Canada, we call them libtards. They come before MDP-tards, and it all ends with contards. One uni-party of globalists using Marxism to F up all our lives. My goodness. Mayor says, I'm calling and it's not working. Hold on, let me see here. Am I in Do Not Disturb? I'm not on Do Not Disturb. It should work. Is it not working? It's saying to install updates. Let me install updates. Hold on. Okay, now try. It should work. I don't know why it needed to install an update right now. Try calling in. Anyway, what do I got it? Where do I go in this? Rain says it's totally possible, Amender. It's just you're incapable of multitasking. That is not true. I am playing a game while debating people. Okay, I don't want to hear it. Secondly, Rain. It's like really annoying to be like debating somebody and then like right in between the debate, just like read comments. That is so cringy. Like, come on. You can't admit, you got to admit that's cringy, right? Like it's better to just go through the debate. Mayor says their hand is raised on Discord. Okay, I'm going to invite you to speak, Mayor. I'm going to put myself back on Do Not Disturb. Give me a quick moment. Options. Sorry, just give me a sec. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello? Hello? Mayor says I can't hear you. Rain, can y'all hear me in chat? Can everybody hear me? Type inside chat if you can hear me. Okay, Bicentro says they can hear me. It's something with MathMax.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me? What happened? Let's try to invite him to speak one more time. We're going to try one more time.
Okay, wait. I can hear you now. Hello.
You can hear me? How you doing?
Can. I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Let me give me 1 second.
Okay.
What did you want to talk about?
Israel Palestine, specifically genocide
Oh my
claims.
God.
I'm new here. I don't know. Is that like a thing you do a lot? Not do a lot?
So I don't like talking about it a lot, like a whole lot. And the reason why is because, like, one, it's horrible for the analytics. Number two, like, it's just such a sensitive topic for a lot of people. But I mean, I can give you my position on how it is.
Can I answer then, or do
Sure.
you just want to give me
Go,
your position?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Give me.
I mean, I want to hear your position first, since obviously.
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
making
like I
positive
sat there and
statements
I
on our field.
reviewed the Geneva Convention standards of like what is considered a genocide, and I suppose like it is up for.
I'm sorry to pause you like so early, but do we not standardize by the UN Convention for Prevention and Punishment? Pretty sure that's where the definition is, correct?
Yeah, yeah, which is
Okay, I
under the
don't think that falls
Geneva
under
Convention.
Geneva, but okay, could be maybe.
Yeah, well, it was formalized anyway. It doesn't matter. It's the same. We're talking about the same thing.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
It was specific to talk about the Nazis and what they had done and defining what they did as a genocide.
Yeah.
And I believe that based on those definitions, it seems to follow that it was effectively a genocide by that metric.
Was or currently is?
It is a genocide by that metric.
Okay, so when we're going over the definition, we're talking about Article 2, and we're essentially saying there's two things required, right? You have the actual action, which happens in every single war, and you have the intent behind committing the action, correct? And for two of those, only when two of those are met, that's when we call something a genocide.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, sure. Our definition for genocide requires two factors. The first factor is going to be the actual crime, so killing people, or it could be preventing them from having kids or stuff like that, which is obviously being met. It's been met in every single war of all time. And the second is something that's called the dolus specialis,
Civilians?
which is going to be
No.
has nothing to do with civilians.
Well, it's killing members of a group.
It's not any group. Needs to
And
be a
typically
specific type
speaking,
of
in
group.
terms of war, at least what was the exact one? I believe it's actually by United Nations standards where you're not allowed to be just killing civilians in war. You have to kill soldiers, not civilians. So, like,
That's not really what I was getting at. What I was getting at was that the way we define genocide is by the intent behind an action. It says specifically.
well, there's five acts that are listed in Article 2 of the Genocide Convention.
Any one of them is enough, but if you read the bit right before where it lists the 5 acts, it says genocide is defined as doing one of these acts with the intent to destroy in whole or in part, and then it goes to list the specific types of groups.
Yeah,
If you want,
the
I can
acts
Google it.
committed
It's
with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, religious groups as such. And it lists 5 acts. So no,
Yeah,
not
so
one, 5.
Wait 1 sec. Could you read the first bit one more time?
In the present convention, genocide is in any of the following acts. Oh, okay, fair
Any
enough.
of the
I see what
following,
you're
so it
saying.
doesn't- Okay. So you have 2 stuff, and the first one is going to be the one that I'll focus on because obviously it's undeniable that people are dying, including civilians. It says specifically it needs to be with the intent to destroy that group in whole and part, right?
Yep.
So that group, would you want to define as Palestinians, as Arabs? Which one would you like to go for? And we'll continue from there. Or would you like to define as Muslims as a whole?
I mean, I would say
Ethnic,
I would say
religious,
Palestinians.
Okay, so you're saying with this war, Israel's intent is to destroy the Palestinian people, correct?
In whole or in part, yes.
Okay, could you name one specific action that was done with that being the purpose of it?
Denial of aid.
Are you talking about the recent one or the older one?
No, many. This has been an ongoing issue for a long time now.
Like you're talking about during this war, or like as a long
Yeah,
blockade type
Gaza.
argument?
Yeah, the current Gaza-Israel war.
Okay, so I'll take the most recent one as an example. There's a reason I asked for specific ones, but since you're being general, that means I could just, if I debunk this one, then we could just go into the rest of them. So for example, for this one, when I believe it was Ben-Gvir that was giving a speech, what does he go specifically? He says, we are denying aid until what happens?
Until hostages are freed.
Correct. So it's until hostages are freed, or sometimes they mention stuff about Hamas. So is the intent behind the action, the intent of that to destroy the Palestinian population or to release hostages? I'm not asking if it's moral, I'm asking what is the intent behind that action?
I think a reasonable person could be fair to say that people cannot survive without food. So I would say that the intent could be legally said that it is to destroy Palestinians. Yes.
You're describing an outcome, not an intent. What is the reason?
Yeah, but
behind
like,
it? We
let's say,
could've-
for example, if like I lay out a bunch of traps outside my house, I may have, or let's say that it's like they're bear traps. I think it is reasonable to assume that maybe a kid could get trapped, considering I live in a suburb.
Well, absolutely, but
Right,
even
just
if
like
Israel
when
were to
you
kill
deny
every single
when you deny
Palestinian-
food to a population, and that we can see famines occurring on a daily basis, it is reasonable to assume that you are directly causing the death of these people, right? And so I could be
Okay,
reasonable to say
let
it would be
me-
reasonable to assume an intent there, right? You don't actually have to
Let me
say
clar-
the intent.
Let me clarify something else, and then we'll get back to this. You think it is conceivable, not in this universe, in some alternate universe, where the Israelis killed every single Palestinian civilian and it still wasn't a genocide?
No.
Okay, so I think that comes from a misunderstanding of what genocide is. For example, they thought, Palestinians were gonna pass some disease or some other garbage, and they killed them all for that purpose. That would not legally be a genocide. It would be a war crime. It would be illegal, but it would not be a genocide.
So you're saying it would not be a genocide to kill them all if they had a disease.
Well, that's not necessary. It's about
Every
the
man,
intent.
woman,
It's
and
the-
child. It would not be it would not be a genocide.
Correct, and pretty much every single legal scholar in the world agrees with me. It's about the
So
intent of why
killing
you're
members of the
doing action.
group, causing serious bodily mental harm to the members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, impose measures intended to prevent births within the group, or forcibly transfer children of the group to another group. Committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. So if you said that the Palestinians have this particular disease and you had the intent to destroy in whole or in part, I think it would match Geneva Convention standards
If your
of
intent
a
was
genocide.
if your intent was to save other people and you weren't doing the action with the intent of killing people, then that would not be a genocide.
But you said that if they had a disease, your intent is to kill them.
Might not necessarily be the best example. If you're
All
being,
right,
for
great,
example,
great.
recklessly
So we can
negligent or
go
something like
back
that.
back to reality, where we could talk about how they are denying food. Where, by the way, it is not considered typical to deny food in this way in any wartime event. There's always counterinsurgency that occurs during wartime, where you specifically will release food for people so that way that they're not starving, potentially causing actually more guerrilla fighters.
Well, that hasn't necessarily been the case in Israel-Palestine. You could refer to 48 War, where it started in a civil war where Jerusalem and different places were put under a blockade by the Arabs. I'd rather stick to the current stuff. Or if you want to get into the history, we definitely
I
can.
didn't talk about that. I was simply saying that counterinsurgency is typical. That's all I said, right? I wasn't
saying
bringing
it's
up
just-
another war instance. I'm bringing up that right now Israel is doing something that is very atypical in terms of war, and by United Nations standards, it's also illegal. We just haven't
Okay, we'll
reached
get
that
to those
point
two
yet.
things. Okay, wait, let me just ask you a question. Do you think now Israel is trying to kill all the Palestinians in Gaza, or at least trying to kill innocent civilians, or you think that's just a consequence of irresponsible policy?
I don't think it's all.
at least
But I
trying
don't
to
need
maximize
all
civilian
in order for it
casualties.
to be a genocide.
To maximize civilian
Right? It just
casualties,
needs
for
to be.
example.
Yeah, well, I mean, the famines is a very good way of killing a lot of people rapidly.
Okay, you are aware though that there has been enough aid for the whole time where the aid was blocked, but obviously
By
that aid is
Israel.
being kept by Hamas.
No, wrong.
No.
Wrong. Other way around. There has been huge pushback against Israel for causing this. And it is now currently Israel themselves that are the only people that are allowed into Gaza to provide food. And as of right now, they're not providing enough aid, and they are shooting at people who are showing up for aid. Right. And they are preventing the United Nations. They are preventing what is it? What is it starts with a W. I'm trying to,
UNRWA.
What?
UNRWA. UNWRA.
No, there was another one. There's,
Not the,
anyway, there's multiple NGOs that want to get access to that area. Right, Israel is deliberately avoiding that. They don't want them fed, right? And their justification is that the food ultimately goes to Hamas. I'm not exactly sure how that's even possible, and I'm also not sure how Hamas is able to kill people with food. I don't see how it actually even benefits them in terms of war. What they're doing, and which can be corroborated in Bob Woodward's book, is that Israel wants to make the civilians or Palestinian civilians, Gazan citizens, to turn on Hamas, saying that they are the ones that caused it. Which very good way of doing that. But with that being said, completely unjustifiable. And yes, I would say it's at the level of a genocide. It's totally unnecessary. The level of casualty that is being incurred onto these people. Right? We have children, dude, 5-year-olds. Right, and we're going to pretend like, oh, it's not a problem.
If you're not going to let me explain, then it's not really going to be a good debate. It's a good speech. So, obviously, Israel is currently blocking the aid. From the NGOs and the UN, whatever. But in the past, before this blockade period, they put in enough aid, an amount that will be sustainable through this amount of time. That's not wrong. You could Google it.
No, I've been following this very closely. That is wrong. You're incorrect about that. They were bringing in aid, but they were blocking more aid, leaving way less than what is actually necessary. They also cut electricity as well as water, and in portions that Israel was able to, where water and electricity was being flowed in.
In certain portions, really want the population.
That was way early into the war, right? Because they felt that Hamas would be the ones that are receiving
in order to minimize.
Nobody's evacuating. Nobody can evacuate. There is no evacuation. They have blocked off every single region of Gaza, from the sea all the way to its borders. The borders themselves are actually have been completely taken over. It is now completely controlled by Israel.
Okay, first of all, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying when at the start they were saying, okay, we're not going to supply electricity. Were they saying to the whole Gaza Strip, or were they saying not going to supply to this region? We're not supplying to here. Why? Because they were going to do a bombing run on that region, or they're going to raid that region, and they want the civilians to leave that region.
They wanted them to go where?
So, to other parts of the Strip where there
to Rafah. To which then, when they said that it was safe, they then subsequently thereafter bombed it. Literally right after. Within a few days, they bombed it.
First of all, they have every right to do that, but second of all, they didn't bomb it. Rafah as a whole.
They told the civilians to escape to Rafah, and then within a few days, they bombed it. You think that they're fully in their right to do that?
Okay, first of all, they tell the civilians, okay, you got to move from this area. This is where proper fighting is happening. And, oh, wow, we have good intelligence.
Well, I'm saying, if I told civilians...
his house... It's completely fine. Do you not see how that's fine?
If I tell civilians to escape to a region, and then I you don't think that there's any United Nations law that would say that you're not allowed to do that?
Absolutely not.
Really? That doesn't exist. So if I found something, you would concede this argument as we see it.
You could show me that law, and then I'll show you exactly the point of the law where it says where if militants are using that place, it is no longer considered a civilian safe space. And then, do you agree that that's going to be there?
Give me a second.
Are you going to like? Do you agree at least that the bombings there weren't targeted at civilians and they're targeted at certain Hamas officers? Do you agree with that?
Allow me a moment. I need to look up. I need to focus. Please give me a moment.
Okay. While you're looking, I'll just, I'm surprised this is bad for attention. These stuff always tend to get pretty fiery. I imagine that'd be good for attention.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and provide it right here.
All right. What is it called?
This is from the UnitedNations.org. This is genocide prevention under the Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949.
Okay.
Right here, it says, in the case of the armed conflict of not international character occurring in the territory of one high contracting parties, each parties of the conflict shall be bound to apply as a minimum of the following provisions. Persons taking no active part in the hostilities, including members of the armed forces who have laid down their arms, and those placed hors de combat by sickness, wounds, detention, or any other cause, shall in all circumstances be treated humanely without adverse distinction founded on race, color, religion of faith, sex, birth, or wealth, or any other similar criteria. To this end, the following acts shall remain prohibited at any time in any place whatsoever with respect to the above-mentioned persons. Violence to life and person, and particular murder of all kinds, mutilation, cruel treatment, torture, taking of hostages, outrages upon personal dignity, in particular humiliating and degrading treatment, the passing of sentences and the carrying out of executions without the previous judgment pronounced by regularly constituted court, affording all judicial guarantees with recognized indispensable by civilized people. Okay. Now what?
That literally was not related to anything.
That wasn't related.
Okay, yeah. Okay, what you just said is, wow, you can't kill civilians.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Okay. So again, so we're going to go back to the same exact problem.
Okay, wait, let me ask you a legal question.
Stop.
It's about
We're going
this law
back to the same
specifically, about our
exact problem.
misunderstanding.
Stop. We are going back to the same exact problem. Israel
Okay, sure.
started taking over Gaza and bombing them, and they told the civilians to go to Rafah. Rafah is safe. They then subsequently, within the next day, bombed Rafah. So you said they're fully within their right to do so. But by this Geneva Convention of Article 4 in 1949, that's wrong. That's I just want to be clear that your initial claim
It's not wrong.
that there are they fully within their right? Yes or no?
Yes, let me explain.
All right. Go ahead and explain. But
Okay, let me ask you a question.
I venture to say this is go ahead. I'll let you make your
Do you
argument.
think it is under international law legal? I'm not asking about any moral claims.
Explain.
it is
Don't ask a
legal.
question. Explain how it's justified. I don't
Well, I
want
need
you
to ask a
asking a
question
question. I want you to explain it. Justify your position.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure. Under international law, if you have a target that you want to kill, and there are civilians around him, and you think you almost know for sure they're going to die if you bomb him, it is legal to still attack him.
No.
Well, literally, that's just true. Like, you
No,
want
it's
to
not.
ChatGPT it or whatever?
No.
It is. It's factually true. It's been how every single high-profile assassination has worked in the last 100 years. It's how every single war has worked in the last 100 years. I think that all the assassination attempts on Hitler or on Putin or whatever were, like, illegal? Really?
They're not going out. We weren't going out of our way to kill civilians.
You're not going out of your
Right.
way.
We
You're
specific.
attacking
They
a certain person,
specifically
they happen
told
to
the
be
people
there.
of Rafah, go to
Wait, we're not-
Rafah, and then after they were told to go to Rafah, they bombed all of Rafah. What am I supposed to
They
say?
bombed
You think
all
they're
of
going?
Rafah?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yes, you can look at
So-
satellite footages of Rafah. It's gone.
How many people were in Rafah at that time?
I don't
So they
know.
moved
I don't know.
everyone
I
from
don't have
Gaza
an
into
exact.
Rafah, and then they bombed
I
all
don't
of
have an
Rafah. So
exact,
there's no more Palestinians. Wait, how are there Palestinians alive? You moved everyone from Palestine into Rafah, and you bombed all of Rafah. That's it. They're all dead, right? Or maybe
Yeah.
they moved people into Rafah and then they bombed very specific targets in Rafah.
Yep.
And then a few months later, they told people, okay, now you have to get out of Rafah. Rafah's no longer safe. And then they bombed the shit out of Rafah.
No, they didn't. That's not what happened. I watched the news very, very carefully, both AP and Reuters. It's strictly news that was going to just give it to you as is. And yeah, no, that is not what they did. They didn't do that at all.
So what did they do? Give me the TLDR on that history.
I already told you. They told them to go to Rafah, and then the next day they bombed Rafah, knowing civilians were there.
You think they were bombing?
Right? It's not just
civilians,
collateral. Yes, I think they were bombing civilians. In fact, that's proven in Bob Woodward's book War. That's proven. We already know that was the strategy. There was a literal conference call between Netanyahu as well as war advisors where they specifically said that they wanted to make more bombs. They wanted to bomb civilians so that way the civilians would turn on Hamas. That's why. And when you look at their bombing campaigns, it appears to be, it coincides with that concept.
So it doesn't coincide at all. If you bombed 60% of the buildings and about 0.5% of the population died, that goes quite with the opposite idea. In Rafah, obviously they killed civilians. But were they killing terrorists with those bombs?
Yeah.
Not by coincidence, by target.
I'm sure terrorists are in there, sure.
No, I said not by coincidence. Were they targeting terrorists, yes or no?
I don't know. I think they were targeting civilians, though.
Okay, what's your proof for that? Now you're just like...
I already gave it to you. It's through Bob Woodward's book, War. There were individual accounts of conference calls that were happening that was written down into account in Bob Woodward's book.
Bob Woodward. Okay, I have no idea who this guy is. So your only proof for this is one book, correct?
No.
Okay, so I'd love to hear the rest of it. Something that I could actually...
I already gave you.
Bob Woodward's
we talked about Geneva Convention standards. We talked about the fact that they told people to go to Rafah and then thereafter bombed it. We talked about that. There's lots and lots of different corroborating evidence as well as multiple articles that prove this to be the case. I'm going to be honest, man. I feel like I'm going to vomit in this conversation. It's pretty gross. I would rather, if anything, I will let you get the last word in, but that's about as far as I'm willing to go. I think. How old are you? Let me just ask. Like, it's the argument's over. Just FYI, this is not going to be a personal attack on you.
I'm 17.
Okay, I think you got a lot of growing up to do. I hope that these types of things never ever happen to you and you never have to deal with something like this. I think you need to work on your empathy, but I'll let you go ahead and have the last word.
Okay, so pretty much when I asked you for proof about why specifically they were targeting terrorists, you said you have more proof, and then you just start talking about other stuff. Obviously, if you're going to move civilians to an area, you're allowed to target the terrorists. Proving the genocide thing, we didn't really even have time to talk about it that much. I don't know, like whatever. Did you hear any of that or no?
I got it. Yeah. I usually give people the last word and I try not to respond. So that way, that way I'm at least fair to the interlocutor.
Do you have any other Israel-Palestine stuff you want to talk about, or
that's it?
Know about, like, historically, stuff like that?
That's it.
Okay. Have a good one.
See ya. Wow. I want to vomit. Holy crap. I wanted to end that conversation post-haste. Let me see here. What was that? Israel, Palestine arguments makes me want to vomit. Yep. Oh, we do have somebody who has their hand up, so we're gonna bring him up.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good, good, good. What do you want to talk about, Lil Travis?
You know, yeah, that stuff is depressing, huh?
It was horrendous. I hate
I hate that talk.
I hate
It's
it.
so
Yeah,
tough, you know?
it's terrible to hear.
So hard to think about.
What makes me even more sad about that is the fact that like it's like a 17-year-old that's providing me this information, and it's like the person doesn't even sound, dumb. They sound relatively intelligent, and I just don't know where they're getting their information. Where it's like, I mean, I'm looking at credible news sources, and it's like every single day, dude, just seeing these, like videos of just like malformed children, and that they're like, swollen bellies and tiny limbs. It's horrendous. I can't even. Like, I have a hard time.
I don't look at it at all. I don't look at it at all.
Fair enough. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Not
What did you want to have a talk?
I can't look at the murder
We could change the
stuff.
topic.
I know about the deal. I know everything that's going on, but like, I just can't look at the murder stuff. It's too much.
Yeah,
Too
no,
much.
it's insane. It's insane.
Goodness gracious.
Anyway, what did you want to talk about?
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking there's two topics. Either we could do anarchy. I'm the anarchist, by the way. That was here a little while ago. But or
did we talk earlier?
Abortion. It was like a while ago. It was not earlier. It was
on
a while
phone?
ago. Yeah, on phone.
Oh, today?
No, a while ago. It was a little while ago.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I debated a libertarian earlier today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
No, it was fun. They were telling me that they wanted a privatized strategy for healthcare, and I brought up the idea that we should have street dentist vendors.
We should. I don't think we should have street dentist vendors.
No, I agree. I don't think we should have street
I think
dentist
that's fine to
vendors.
have a free
I think
market.
that's idiotic.
I think free market is okay. I think free market is all right.
Well, I'm not against free market. I just think that there should be regulations on the said free market, so that way we don't have street dentist vendors.
I completely agree. But I think there's other ways to do it besides government, personally. There are other ways to do it.
Okay. Did you want to talk about the government versus not government?
We could talk about it.
Is that what you wanted to talk about? Or was there anything in particular you were interested?
I don't know, is there something, I don't think anyone asked you, what are you thinking about, what's been on your mind? I might not know about it, but first topic
you know what? I got something fun
about.
for you. I do. I got something fun for you. It's pretty funny.
Do it.
Let me pull up my notes here. I have it right here.
Okay.
You're gonna love this. This is
I'm gonna
wild.
love it.
This is wild.
If it's wild, I'm definitely gonna love it. Come on. Hit me with it.
And I'll share it for everybody to see.
Hit me with it.
Give me a moment.
Is it a video?
No.
Oh,
it's,
yeah. I'm down, dude. Come on, son. What are we?
Yeah. So you see what it says here? It says Elon Musk said on Twitter.
Crazy.
Time to drop the really big bomb.
Ooh.
At the real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason that they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump.
Maybe. Who knows? That's crazy, isn't it? Who knows? Who knows?
Do you think,
I don't trust Elon Musk.
Just curious. Do you think that he would that Elon Musk will become more liberal? Do you think it's possible?
No. I think if anything, he's going to become more libertarian. If any.
Yeah.
Because
Look
he's
at this
already.
photo.
I've been seeing. That's a sick ass photo. I can make that my wallpaper. I'll hang it up. But no. I've seen him tweet out Milton Friedman in the wild in the past. So
this is so.
I would
these are
assume.
so weird.
It's just a crazy
Also,
time,
this.
Hiding.
Also, this.
What is that? Let me see.
That's Ghislaine Maxwell and Elon Musk hanging out.
Who's Ghislaine Maxwell? I don't know who that is.
You don't know who that is?
I don't know who that is. No, I've never heard of her.
That's the wife of Jeffrey
I'm not
Epstein.
super in on the Epstein
That's Jeffrey
stuff. It's so
Epstein's
depressing.
wife, and the wife
so
was
depressing.
complicit. She was
Yeah, all this
complicit
stuff
in
is
all
so
this.
much. It's so much. I just try to get a general sense of these things because the details, it's just so gross. It's too hard for me. I can't do it. I'm too much of a wuss.
It's
disgusting. All that.
So
shit.
I think that I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like thinking how all of this kind of is going to unfold. You think Tesla stock could go up?
It's down right now, but I think the liberals might push him. But I think he's not gonna take it too serious.
It's down 15% today.
Yeah, it's down.
That is.
But I think I saw him also put out a poll on his Twitter. He said, "Should I make a third party?" I'm like, it's so it's like he's making a push for president. It's terrible. How about no parties? You know what I mean? Not that complicated. It makes me think he's pretty. It makes me question all of it. I don't trust Elon or Trump. I don't trust any of these guys.
I mean, I just go in favor of. I like there to be significant social safety nets. And I think that we can have free market capitalism, but I think you also need to have an equal share of free market capitalism, which involves strong worker rights, such as unions.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not, if I'm being honest, I'm not the most educated on specifically unions, but it doesn't seem like the most necessary thing.
So I do apologize. Can I just put a quick pause? I could
ask you questions about that.
Give me a quick second. Just give me I don't know, a minute. Just give me a minute.
You're good. You're good. I'm not tripping. You're the boss, man. So guys. If this is Lil Travis, they support no minimum wage, etc. Yeah, no minimum wage. It's true. It is true. What can I say? I'm an evil guy. I don't think being passionate. I'm not passionate. I'm passionate. I'll accept the criticism, but I'm passionate about freedom. I'll be corny about it. I'm passionate about freedom. I'm my own anarchist, baby. Come on. There's no one anarchist. My own flavor. It's my own flavor. It's my own little flavor. Call it the little Travis flavor. Alright? You can dabble in it if you want. But don't rip it. Alright? Do your own thing. Alright? I don't want you living with me. I don't know who you are. What's his trans take? I don't know. It seems like it's pretty unimportant, I could not care less.
All right, I'm back.
Minimum wage is necessary.
No, all right, dude, base. No minimum wage. Chat. Me too. No minimum wage with strong unions. Strong unions.
Let's go, baby. I think you could. I think a natural minimum wage is better.
Are you in on the union train?
I don't know. I was saying I don't know much about unions. I hear they're not the best, but I could. If you want, you could give me.
Let me libertarian pill you on the union thing and how it's viable. I'm going to libertarian pill you.
No.
You're going to love it.
I'm white pilled.
You're white pilled?
Have you heard of that?
No. Why don't you help me?
You should read that book.
What book? White pilled?
Michael Malice. Have you heard of it? You should watch Michael Malice. He's the most convincing anarchist. I'll put that case out there. If anyone's here, Michael Malice is the most convincing one.
Well, hear me out, right?
Union.
Do you like capitalism? Are you a capitalist?
100%.
What would you say if you had to guess? What is the difference between mercantilism versus capitalism? What's the difference?
I don't know what mercantilism is. I don't know.
Very simple. Mercantilism is where I go to a foreign country and I hold my gun up to the natives and I say, give me your gold. And then they go, well, you make a hard bargain, Mr. Conquistador. Here's gold. What's the difference between capitalism and mercantilism?
To So you're saying they threatened them to get that gold?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds like stealing, right? That just sounds like
kind of.
stealing.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like that.
Technically, it's a free market, though.
Yeah, it is. It's mercantilism.
But it's wrong. You shouldn't. I
completely agree. Totally agree with you there. So, okay. So, what I was able to gauge of the difference between capitalism and mercantilism is that, well, mercantilism kind of implies not having equal trade, right? Like the power dynamic is very, very different between capitalism versus mercantilism. Mercantilism is done with a gun, so obviously they're going to say yes to you because you have a gun to their face, right? Whereas with capitalism, you actually have to have equal trade between one another. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They ought to be equal without coercion. No coercion. They have
you watch
to actually
Star Trek Next Generation?
Some of it, very little. Why?
It's like the Ferengi.
There you go.
You remember them?
There you go. There you go. Good.
Yeah, that's a good call.
It
Come
is
on.
similar.
That's the Ferengi right there. Come on.
Okay, so the understanding the difference between capitalism and mercantilism, I think all of the power when it comes to working at any company, corporation, is actually goes to the owners of the company, right? And what's crazy about this is that it's actually not really possible to really effectively negotiate. I mean, there might be some room for negotiating. Like, let's say if you're highly trained, there's some room for negotiation. But really, it's going to be up to the market rates. And, if they can get away with, paying you less, they're going to do it. And a lot of the times, people will just kind of sit and take it because they know that if they don't have a job, well, they could go, and become homeless, or they can lose their livelihood, right? Okay. So understanding that, if that's the case, then I don't really see how it's like super different from mercantilism of the past, right? Because there is effectively a semblance of coercion there. All of the power is not it's on one side. It is not equal, right? The conditions are not equal. So I think in order to make it equal is that the workers, they get together and then they have representatives that act on behalf of the workers in order to get better working conditions. Yeah.
I think union is good. I don't think the government should be doing union, if anything.
Well,
I don't think it should
that's
be
kind of the problem.
I think it should be.
You can't actually have a union if there's no government merit behind it.
Yeah, you can.
Why?
Well, because if we're used to unions right now, right? We're basically used to it.
No, we used to have unions, and then we slowly eroded away.
I don't know.
Because of the Milton Friedmans of the world and the Margaret Thatcherites of the world. I
honestly don't know much about unions. I just got to be honest.
Yeah,
I hear your case, but I don't know the criticism. I don't know the other argument. I don't know the details.
We have a right to work. There are things called right to work states and union states. So a right to work state is that they can fire you for any reason. You can't, and you can't. While you can legally unionize, they can fire you for unionizing.
Yeah.
They see it as ultimately retaliatory towards the business, and so they don't want you to unionize.
And people still work there. They still choose to work there after doing that.
Yeah, well, in a right to work state, that's all that's around is they could just fire you for whatever reason. I actually don't like calling it right to work state. I'd rather like calling it what it is. It's a right to bend over state. It's a right where they had this idea that, listen, under a right to work state, it is possible for a worker to decide that they want to compete against the corporation So like, let's say if there's like an employee that feels like that they could do a better job, they could quit and then start their own company, and it would, it would be in theory better. However, the problem that occurred in the right to work state is that the one thing that was supposed to help spur on economic growth immediately got shut down because of non-compete agreements.
I'm sorry, you cut out at the very end.
Oh, non-compete agreements, because of non-compete agreements. So the whole thing of like the whole free market thing just kind of immediately just imploded on itself. And all that was left is just kind of just workers with less rights and worse working conditions.
I don't know, it depends on the context, I don't know what's going on around that area, I don't know what the policies are looking like. Honestly, I'd have to accept your framing about it, but I'd have to look into unions.
You should.
I should, yeah. I'll look into it after this. It sounds interesting. But I know there is a case against it too. I know there is a case.
Yeah,
so
it's usually by anti-union reps and people that are like, austerity politics people. Usually like Chicago School, they like to release some anti-union stuff. But empirically, like across the board, unions show to be quite beneficial. The countries that live the highest quality of living actually don't need minimum wage, because the union will argue a living wage. That's what happens.
Yeah, I wonder, because maybe if there was no government, you could have a private company do those types of things, and then slowly over time, people would just work for the companies that.
Well, the problem is that if they unionize, then what would happen is the company can just fire everybody in the union.
Yeah, they can, but some of them will, and then people will work for those companies instead, and then eventually, companies will realize, you can actually make more money by using these unions, so that people are working better, and then I can have more employees with more average, consistent wages, and I just got to pay this company to be a union. Not even pay these people pay into a union. At the end of the day, the
only way that the unions work is that it's effectively a compulsory membership. That's one, because there's funding available for the union to do what it does. And then number two, that you're not allowed to get fired just because you decide to unionize. That's what allows for there to be the existence of unions.
These guys
Whereas
keep
if you remove
firing
that, they could just fire you, and that's it. Again, you have to understand that all of the monetary power is in the corporation's hands. So it naturally would flow that there would just be less worker rights as a result.
Why wouldn't that happen in a government system?
Why would that not happen? Why would that happen in a government system?
Why would that not happen in
I'm not talking about a government system. I'm saying I'm talking about union.
Like if the government is running a union, because that's your case for the government running a union.
Well, there's government-owned companies, and all of them are unionized because they pay the workers decent wages.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep saying I don't know much about this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just not the most knowledgeable topic on, I don't know.
Recommend, here's the thing. Like, I'll be honest, based on the way that you've addressed yourself, I'd be fair to say you'd probably be pretty anti-union, because it's basically a kind of a pro-government approach. Specifically, the government is required in order to bolster up a union. You actually can't. It's almost impossible to have a union without government to back it up.
Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what it would look like without unions in an anarchist society. I don't know. I'd have to look into that case.
I think in an anarchist society, you would have to have unions, because there would just be nothing to stop corporations from just running over everybody and creating a banana republic.
But you can have natural unions, it is a thing.
Well, I mean,
possible. I can imagine it.
The local corporation could, in theory, right? They could basically have enough money to be a de facto government. They hired all the private all of the private security, and they're just kind of the de facto ruler in, I don't know, say Banana Town or whatever.
I don't know about ruler, because if it's voluntary, it's not. I don't know about if they're just.
Oh no, it's not.
How
It
is this
wouldn't be
working?
it wouldn't
How
be
does this work?
voluntary. I
No,
mean,
wouldn't it be
voluntary involved. Yeah, because they have the guns.
I mean, you don't get
they
to
have
choose where you
they're
work.
the security people, and they would just own the entire area and say, okay, well, if you're going to live here, you need to be under our rules. A banana
These
republic.
unions are gonna do that?
No, I'm saying that the corporation can do that under an anarchist
Oh,
system.
okay. Yeah, that's assuming that these corporations are going to be bad. That's assuming.
Well, that happens. That happens.
It does happen. Most of the time, it doesn't, though. But yeah.
I mean, like you could look at the Banana Republic as a good example of that. Do you know about that?
Yeah, it's still government policies.
That's not government policy.
They tried to get rid of all of them, but they still had.
No, they got rid of the government.
Yeah, listen, I don't know. I know it was in where was it, Guatemala, Cuba or something somewhere. I don't know.
Guatemala.
I don't know much about it, honestly. Guatemala, man, that was my second guess. I swear to God. But
basically,
I don't know
Chiquita. You remember that Chiquita banana logo? You know what I'm talking about? The nice lady with a banana hat.
I'll look it up real quick.
Chiquita banana.
I'll look it up real quick. Just keep going.
Here, I'll show you right here. This,
okay.
You probably recognize it in your grocery store. Here's an example of the.
Oh, okay.
Chiquita
I think I've seen it in movies.
Banana, yeah, Chiquita banana. Isn't it cute? Look how cute it is.
It's not cute. I don't like it. I get my
Isn't
bananas
adorable?
at Sam's Club.
The Chiquita banana lady.
I get the real stuff.
You know.
I grow my own bananas, actually.
Chiquita banana. Anyway. Yeah, so what's funny about the Chiquita banana, it's not really funny. It's actually horrendous. It's a nightmare. Basically what it was that you had a company, the United States, it was called the United States Fruit Company. Sorry, not United States, the United Fruit Company, but it was owned by the United States. And it basically controlled portions of Central America and the Caribbean, particularly Guatemala, where democratic institutions, right, were manipulated, and the governments were installed to prop up those foreign interests, to protect corporate profits. And then those foreign companies exploited the natural resources for cheap labor, while the majority of the population remained impoverished and politically marginalized. Military interventions and coups were often used to maintain that status quo. It was the government itself would effectively be dismantled in favor of the Chiquita Banana Company, in order to bolster the Chiquita Banana Company. And so they were effectively a small elite of foreign interests against everybody, and they would kill people for that. They effectively became the de facto
So they bought out the government, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
they had their own personal military. They had people with
out,
assault rifles killing people. It was awful. It was a nightmare.
I mean, they had a government. It's because they had a government to buy out.
Well, I mean, I think if I was a private corporation and I just happened to have all of the security because I had enough money, then I mean, you kind of become the de facto government.
Well, no, but you got to give an example of that. But you gave me an example where there's already a government and then they bought out the government.
Yeah. So there's no government.
I'm talking about no government.
There is no government at that point.
Well, no, it is a government. They bought out the government.
That's the thing, man. We're talking about the absence of power. When you have the absence of power, what happens is that an organized body will just show up and take over. That's just what happens. That's why anarchist societies are very hard to come across. It usually only takes a decade or two for them to erode away to a larger, more powerful source.
But do you see how your example is where a private company bought out the government and then assumed the role of a government?
If there was no government, then it would be easier.
Basically became a government.
They would just hire security and become the de facto government, which one way or another they were. Yeah, they were. That's literally what happened.
Well, I don't know. This happened in Guatemala. There's not a lot of guns there. I'm sure they didn't have.
Oh, I'm sure there were guns, but here's the thing, right? They have more guns.
Not in America. Nobody has more guns in America.
Well, that's different. I'm talking about Guatemala. I'm saying
talking,
that they
I
had
don't think
more
it's
power
possible
and
in
guns.
Guatemala.
Yeah, I mean, you could just take advantage of these people, and like that's the problem, man. I think if you're gonna be like arguing some weird anarchist concept, I think the problem is that it just results in basically just like a worse off system. It just creates it's called Mad Max. It's just Mad Max, right? It's like
That's what
one guy's
calls it,
guns
but
is bigger than another guy's guns.
I don't know. It's like just a claim, you got to back that up. I don't understand.
Well, I did. I
Listen,
brought up the
in
Banana
Guatemala.
Republic.
Yeah, well, you brought up an example where there was a government and then a private company assumed the role of government by buying out that government. So there is still a government technically. You're just saying there's not.
Okay, so if you buy out
Just
the
'cause it's a
government,
private- if they
there's
buy
no
out the
government
government and then
anymore.
do the
It's just
same-
now a private corporation owning
Yeah, but they still did
you basically have removed any falsification principle.
Yeah, but that ends
'Cause
up
if
being
there's any
an
instance of
authoritarian
government at any
government, right?
point-
That's an authoritarian government.
Well, I know. That's why I
Yeah,
said that
that's not
anarchist
what I am
societies just
advocating
turn
for,
into.
am
I know
I?
it's not what you're advocating for. I'm saying realistically, what happens? I'm saying that
Well,
it
you're
is not
saying
realistic
that
to
would
assume.
happen.
Yeah, I am, because it's happened every single time.
Yeah, I don't know what you. Not every. Listen, I don't know what you. They had a government already, so they were used to a government. They already have a government. They're already used to it, and then the private company bought out the government, does the same stuff, except starts to kill people and starts doing bad stuff.
Yeah.
They're already used to the government, though. These
I mean,
people
I
are
think I
not
remember
anarchists.
recall at one
They are
point-
okay with government. Like, of course, they're going to be okay with a private company buying it and then just doing the same stuff and then being an authoritarian government. Like, I don't know what it'd have to be a good amount of people that are cool with anarchism, and that aren't evil, And listen, it's Guatemala. I don't know what you want me to say. They don't have the ethical code that we do, It's
What?
just
I'm sure they had
Guatemala?
a semblance of ethics. But what they
Not
didn't
like us,
what
though. We
they
have the
didn't
best ethics in America.
explain. What they didn't explain was the fact that a corporation with much more power than the locals can just come in and take over. That's the part that they
using a government. They use the government to do that.
Well, I don't think it mattered whether or not you had government. I think that they could come in and take over a region, and if they have enough security, if there was no government, the result is the same.
They had a government already. They used the government to do bad stuff. So
No, they destroyed the government and then put in their own de facto ruling state. That's what they did.
You got to say that. That's still a government. But yeah, it's an authoritarian government. They made a government.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, right?
Do you see my point though? Like,
no, I do.
I
think you have removed entirely.
Not the best example. That's my point.
Well, I just think you've removed entirely any falsification principle. If there's any semblance of government, you would just say, well, that's not the fault of free market. That's just government.
If there's no government, they would have nothing to buy out, and then they would have to take over those people. They'd have to literally take them over. If there wasn't a government there in the first place, they would have to rule them by force and start really taking over. But the fact that they used the government to do it, it's like it kind of defeats your argument, does it not? Like, they used the government to do it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
and that would make sense. But unfortunately, they basically tore down the government and put in their own de facto ruling state.
Well, government. Put in their own government.
Yeah, so it's kind of the problem of power vacuums.
They used the government to put in another government.
This is the problem. Like any amount of anarchist states, they get eaten alive every time. Right? I mean, we can look at Catalonia as a good example.
That wasn't an anarchist state. That was a government state that got bought out.
So we can give you an example such as the revolutionary Catalonia, where basically there was factories and farms being collectivized, and money was abolished and replaced for labor vouchers, and they basically All decisions were made through workers' assemblies and federations. Do you know what happened?
Wait, I'm sorry. You got to repeat the first part. Where is this?
Catalonia. Revolutionary Catalonia in Spain.
So the workers were deciding what's going on basically in this area. Okay.
Yep. And it was so wonderful. It was so peaceful. They had such a wonderful time. And then what happened?
Okay. I don't know. I don't know much about it.
Yeah. They were crushed by larger forces. Franco's fascists, Stalinist communists, and internal divisions. That's what happened.
So where was this? Catalonia when? What time? What period?
Spain.
Like
1936, 1939. Yep.
Catalonia, Spain. How big of it? How many people would you say?
I don't know. Good question. I don't know.
Let me look it up. Are you looking it up?
No.
Okay. Catalonia. How many people in 1937? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 1936 to 1939.
I'm sorry, you cut out.
1936 to 1939.
Four million people. All right. So
yeah.
Catalonia, and let's see. Restoring the Generalitat as its government. Okay, what's the Generalitat?
The workers.
Yeah, but it sounds like a government.
See, you don't have a falsification principle.
What do
You
you mean?
removed it because as soon as there's any level of organizing, you just call it a government.
No, but if it's I don't know. I have to look into it. It sounds like a government. I said I don't know. I'm looking into it.
If there's any amount of organizing,
The
it's
regional,
a government.
the Generalitat refers to the regional government or system of self-government in Catalonia. Yeah, okay, it sounds like it's self-governed.
So anarchist.
And then they got taken over?
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes it's not going to be perfect, you got to
Well, I'm saying
defend
that
your
that's
area.
what happens every single time because when you don't have a centralized force or something to defend yourself with, people just kind of take over. That's just kind of what happens.
Well, 4 million people isn't that many people, but yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Not really.
That's
to
not
defend
a
yourself.
tiny amount of people, right?
Yeah, it is.
4
on a
million?
world scale,
That's
on
a
a
tiny,
country
that's
level.
a big,
yeah.
that's a lot of people. 4 million people is a lot.
Let's see how many people it took to take them over. Who took them over?
What about like the American Old
Hold on.
West?
Let me just look something
That's
up
like
real
a
quick.
libertarian anarchist wet dream. The Old
Let me
West.
I'm sorry. I can't even hear you because I'm just going to look one thing up real quick. One more thing. Sorry. I just got to see who took them over.
I already told you.
Salvador, is it Ilya?
It was Franco's fascists, Stalinist communists, and internal divisions. That's what took him out.
Internal division.
Yep,
Okay.
they had
I see.
internal divisions amongst themselves on how they
Yeah, it
wanted
sounds
things
like
to run.
it sounds like they had issues, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's every
They should have-
anarchist system.
They didn't have it
It's
figured out. I
ultimately
don't know which one.
quixotic and never works.
Yeah, you can say that, but these people clearly did not agree on anything. You can't hang out with people you don't agree with at all.
How about this? What about
You
the
gotta-
American Old
gotta have
West? Good
community. You
old-fashioned
can't-
libertarian.
It sounds like
lack
it was a
of
government. It
laws
sounds like it was a
and,
government.
guns and capitalism.
The Wild West,
Yeah, the
cowboy times,
Wild West.
One of my favorite.
I mean,
periods.
formal
Come on.
government, right? That was just absent or minimal. Kids, they could be smoking. Private property norms. That's just contract enforcement that emerged through reputation systems. That it was all private arbitration and mutual defense groups. What happened there? What happened?
I don't know. Didn't we?
Yeah.
Do good?
No,
We're still here.
a lot of
We ended up
people
making a government,
dying.
right? The British started taking over. Is that what it was?
No, this is 1830 to 1900. That would have been the American
okay.
Old West.
I don't know what happened though.
Yeah, you know what happens? Governments get established.
Okay, well, they can have governments if they want
Yeah,
to.
no,
Just
it
let
just
me do my thing.
well, but here's the
Just let me
thing,
do
though.
my
There's
thing.
like the
I just
problem
want to be able
is
to do
that
my own thing.
that's great. But your very existence is there's an amount of benefit that you're receiving from the state.
No, just let me have my
No?
own land. I don't want any benefit. I want to do my own thing. I want
Really?
to do my own
You think
thing. I
no
don't need
no
benefit.
other
I'll do my own
benefit?
thing. I don't need your benefits. I just want to do
What
my own
about
thing.
educated people? You think that might benefit you somehow, somewhere?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, can you build your own computer from scratch?
Do I need to survive?
Well, I mean, you're talking to me, aren't you? Don't you like
Well, I
talking on
can pay
here?
someone else to do it, can't I? Can't I just
What?
buy a computer?
Wait. Hold on. Pay someone else to do it?
Yeah.
To build the computer for you?
Mhm.
How are they going to do that?
If I want a computer, I
How
don't
are
need
they
a
going to
computer.
build that computer for you?
I don't know. They're going to build the computer. I don't know how to build a computer.
Do you think that maybe they got an education somewhere to build that computer? You think that people got an education for, like, say, knowing how processors work, maybe? You think that's possible?
I think so, yeah. I think it's possible.
Okay, so it's possible to say that, would you say that, like, a more educated population would result in better outcomes?
If you want one, if that's what you're trying to do, yeah.
No, I'm saying, like, does it result in better outcomes?
Yeah, I think it would, but
Okay,
my
right.
point is if you
So
want
the
one, you can do
government-
it. But yeah, it would result in better stuff, of course.
Okay, so the government coming in and investing in education results in you being able to talk to me from halfway across the globe. Amazing.
So we couldn't have done it without the government. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that it behooves the government to assist people in getting educated.
Well, if we
There's
do
a
you
vested
think we could have
interest in
done it
doing
without
so.
the government? You think it's possible we could have made a
I'm sure
computer
it's
without the
possible.
government?
I think that, like,
Then
if
let's
it
let me
was
figure that one out,
entirely
yeah.
voluntary, I think that you would have some people that decide to get an education and people that decide that they don't want to get an education. And me personally, I don't think that education from, say, K through 12 should be should be optional. I think that should be compulsory, right? Because it results in a better society to do it that way.
So you don't think you should be allowed to? Oh, you think you should be allowed to homeschool at least, right? If you want to.
I don't personally don't like homeschooling. I think that
Really?
it's complete
That's
revamping.
crazy.
Yeah, I
They
think
do better.
They
do better.
they
They do a
don't.
lot
They
better.
don't.
Yeah, they do.
You know what's actually wild about this is that, like, I Googled, like, tried to find information about this, and the only studies that I have seen for in favor
there's not a lot.
of that has been ultimately homeschooling advocacy groups. Like, every single study is just homeschooling advocacy groups. I can't find just, like,
don't
an
know. I'm sure I could
empirical
find one.
study with no advocacy group tied to it. And so, like, I find it very
I'm sure,
dubious, right? Considering that,
Hard to
like,
trust. Yeah, I get
you know,
it.
at best, right, you have an attentive parent and that the outcomes are good, and at worst you have a child that is being abused at home. School asks where'd the bruise come from, and then they say that they're going to pull the
I'd have
child
to see
out and
data on it.
homeschool it, and that's appropriate to the state.
I'd have to see data on that, but I think, listen, it's tough to do homeschooling, especially when there's so many people doing public schools, But if everybody were doing homeschooling, because I remember when I was a kid, I was able to play with kids in my neighborhood. That's hard to do nowadays. There's not a lot of kids in people's neighborhoods, or even to ask, because why would you? You go to public school too. Why would you need to?
Well,
But if everyone's
public
homeschooled,
schools
you
are
get your social stuff just in your neighborhood. You don't have to go to no public school.
well,
And then you
but
could
public schools do
homeschool.
help with that socialization aspect. That's really
You could also
important.
do a private school if you want. I don't think it should be the government doing it, though. I don't think the government. Do you think the government's doing a good job in the education system?
It would be better if there was no government doing it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
private schools are better.
I mean, I'm sure, but that's because the funding is
Well,
better
that's-
in
no.
private schools.
Yeah, it's already.
And
been
honestly,
points
there
to
are
me,
public
like,
schools that
right.
do really, really well. But
Some
there's
of them
also
do,
like
but most-
underfunded private schools that are due to redlining laws of the past, and we're just seeing the rippling effects of it. But that's another discussion entirely.
I mean, private schools are better. Government does
Yeah,
not
they're
handle.
funded better.
I mean,
yes, I agree with you. They're funded better.
yeah.
But not everybody can afford private schooling. That's expensive.
Well, because
I think
because there's so many
education
public
should be
schools. 'Cause there's
available
so many
to
public
everybody,
schools, that's
because
why.
if
Because
it
there's
is
so many public
available
schools.
to everybody, then it would result in people being more educated, and then we can stop voting in stupid politicians and stupid people to do stupid things.
Yeah, I think everyone's. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But you know, I think if there were no public schools, private schools would be a lot cheaper because they'd just be everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then at worst we have like, I don't know, Bible Belt thumping schools that ultimately make kids stupider.
Well, if people want to
Like
teach
their critical
that, and that's
thinking
what
goes.
people want.
Yeah,
if
but
that's what people want
critical
their kids to
thinking goes
learn,
down
then
the
who are you to tell them
tubes,
they
man.
can't
I
do
mean,
that?
like, but here's the thing, right? There's like teaching kids like how to critically think, and then there's like indoctrinating children where we teach them that the Earth is 6,000 years old. I mean, come on, these aren't the same
No,
thing.
I think it's bad
and
too,
I
but
think
you-
and I think it causes harm on society to teach kids. That the Earth is 6,000 years old. I think it, like this idea that is like, oh, the Earth, it doesn't matter. God, you'll spend eternity in heaven. Meanwhile, they destroy their environment because they feel that it's designed for them. Right? It's just complete stupidity. It's a huge concern in my mind.
Yeah, I don't think it's good to teach kids that either, but I think you should allow people to make the mistake of teaching their kids that, because obviously it's dumb, and
I think
eventually
the state needs
people are
to
going to
step
be
in
like,
on that. Yeah, I do.
yeah, I think that's just
do.
where we've met a fundamental disagreement. You know
Sure
what I mean?
are. Did you have anything?
Yeah, I
else
don't
for
know.
me?
I don't know. I'm having fun. No one's got their hand up. No.
Well, people usually
What else
call
is
in when
going
I
on?
turn off my.
Let's
Do
give
not
it a chance.
disturb.
Let people call in, and then I'll just hang up. But
Okay.
what are you thinking? You think Elon Musk is gonna make a go for president? Come on.
All right, everybody. I've just turned off my do not disturb. If you guys want to call in, let's call in. Otherwise, I'm playing some Diablo 2. But
I wouldn't mind an abortion debate though too. Also.
oh,
But,
Jesus, an abortion debate, another one. My goodness.
Oh, did you do one today? I want to
did.
too.
I did. We did a
What else is there?
libertarian argument, and we did the abortion debate. Are you pro-life?
Yeah.
How are you pro-life in a?
Do your thing though. You can do your thing in your area if you want to, of course. If you want to be doing abortions in your area,
That's pro-choice.
what am I going to say? Yeah, but no, I mean in my area,
Wait,
in
that's
my
actually
specific.
wild. How are
Hold
you?
on. Let me explain myself. Can I explain myself? Okay. In my little relationship area where it's my land and my friends hanging out, like, guys, if you do an abortion, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You know what I mean? But,
No, that's different
Yeah.
from
I
whether
would
or
say
not that a
at the end of the
government.
day, on-
You have to understand
on
what a
every
pro-choice,
issue, I am
pro-life. You
pro-choice
have to
on
understand what
every
a
issue.
pro-life, pro-choice argument is. The pro-life argument is, I do not believe it should be up to individuals as to whether or not that they want to undergo a potentially life-threatening procedure and permanently change my body. I believe that it should be up to a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away or a Supreme Court representative.
That's the pro-life you're saying?
That's ultimately what the pro-lifer is arguing. They want to sit there and say the
I don't think you
sanctity
should
of
get
life.
abortions, though. That's
when
my
okay, but
my
that's
argument.
no. That's your personal how you believe. That's different from being pro-choice or pro-life.
No, because if I were to hire like a private company that were to have security and rules that watch and have security over certain areas, that I would want one that's like no abortions. No.
But
abortions.
but then you're the government.
No, because I'm
you are.
I'm
That's
paying these
government. You
guys
just
to have
organize the
security. I'm
government.
paying these guys for security.
Yeah, that's
No, I'm
that's
paying-
kind of what government do.
That's not.
You're government now.
No, it's not. As long as it's voluntary,
Well,
it's okay. It's not a government. It's not a
I
government.
cannot believe you do not see this hypocrisy. That's insane.
That's not a government. I don't know what you want me to say.
I don't know what to tell you, man. That's government.
A government has authority.
You know, if you say that the Banana Republic is a government, when they hired the private security, you called that government because they overthrew a government, but you are not a government, even though that you did literally the same exact thing at a smaller scale. That is not a government. This is hypocritical. I would rethink your view. Anyway, I'm moving on, man. I don't know what to. I'm gonna give you the last word. I'm moving on.
Final word.
Go ahead.
It's not hypocritical because if it's voluntary, he's bringing up Banana Republic. It wasn't voluntary. These guys had no choice. These citizens had zero choice. I'm talking about hiring a private security company to just secure your area. That's all I'm talking about. And if somebody does an abortion in your area, yeah, they're not going to be in your area anymore. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's not like that's not a government. It's just if I were to have a club and I were to say, hey, club, and I were to get really specific about it. Hey, in this club, no punching, no abortions, no murder, no none of this, no violence, no getting too drunk to where you're assaulting people, all this stuff. That's basically the same thing, just on a smaller level. That's not government because you're paying these guys to do it. I'm allowing you to have security over my area. I'm allowing you to come here and secure my area. They're not forcing their laws on me. It's just not. How is that a government? That makes zero sense.
And there you go. I'll move you to the stage.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
What'd y'all think of that? I am accepting calls, by the way. You can call the number 202-998-5218. If you want to have the discussion, we can. That was a wild discussion. And the fact, I feel like that they completely contradicted themselves at the end with the anti-abortion argument. That's wild to me. All right, nobody right now, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn up. Let me see. I'm set to available. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just turn up the music for the game. And if anybody wants to raise their hand, they can. There we go. Let's see. We got I'm supposed to fight Duriel, I believe. This is not an easy fight. But if I'm not mistaken, I think I can just use static shock and this thing's gonna die. Alright, I think I could just put this here. There you go. And then what? And then what? We get Duriel? Is that what this do? We're just gonna get Duriel? There it is, right there. There's the entrance to Duriel. Duriel is going to F me up, and I need to... Alright, let's get this on. Oh man, I'm genuinely worried. Duriel was really hard when I first fought them, so I'm just gonna release a portal here, and I'm just gonna, we're just gonna... Let's hope I do... Okay. Ooh. Well, there you go. That was it. That was really quick. I died so fast. Oh my god. That was terrible. Mayor says, how do I ask a question without calling? Oh, you can type it right here. Did I miss... MP says, I've only been here once. He did respond to chat, but I guess today's different. Yeah, no, so I do respond to chats. It's just when I'm in the middle of a debate, it's not really feasible for me to respond to chats, if that makes any sense. All right, let's keep going. Duriel can just slap me in like 4 hits and I'm dead. So I typed it right above. Haha. Let me see. Haha. Since you just finished a chat, I would love a source on the quote. I can't find it, and I'm an account of good faith, and I want to learn. Let's see. Can you please show a quote Netanyahu saying that he wants to kill civilians? I can't find it anywhere. Yeah, it's in Bob Woodward's book War. I'll see if I can get it for you. Give me a moment. ATL Clutch says, debate a liberal or a leftist? I am a liberal, but I'm also a social democrat, so that would make me a leftist. I know I checked the book online, but I couldn't find it where. Don't have a copy or anything, so I was just asking ChatGPT or searching the web. Yeah, hang tight. I know I read it in this book. Hold on. Hold on a sec. I can't find it either, but I know for a fact that it did exist. I remember it. I remember specifically reading where it had said it. I wish I could show you the exact page. I don't have it. I had it in audiobook. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Though I am seeing that Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, that during a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken shortly after the October 7th attack, Gallant declared that it did not matter how many Palestinians or Israelis died as long as Hamas was eradicated. That remark reportedly left Blinken deeply unsettled, hiding the severity of the Israeli military stance. Additionally, Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer is quoted in the book as discussing political relocation of Palestinian civilians to Egypt to avoid humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and he said there will not be a humanitarian crisis of Gaza if no civilians are there. One man, Sisi, can't stand in the way. Gallant is a crazy hardliner. Yes. Yes, he is. I lost to Duriel, and I could have sworn that I That is not good. I need to get back to Duriel. I made the mistake of dying without going to the portal. So let's figure that out, I suppose. Morris says the reason I don't think it exists, or maybe if it does, is not credible, is because it never heard about it, and it seems like it would be super useful for pro-Palestinian. To be fair, right, I should point out that most people don't read. They don't. And mind you, like something as simple as reading an audiobook, very, very helpful. Like I said, man, get an Audible subscription. I'm telling you. I remember it. I do. I know maybe your research isn't telling you anything. I'm telling you, this is what I read. All right, so let me see. Will I be able to, can I just like, I need to get into Tal Rash's chamber, but is he already at 30%? No, he's not. Oh my. This is not good. Not good. Not good. Not good. Ow. Ow. I need someone else. No! Damn it. All right. Let's try that again. Maura says, I read a lot relatively, and it is super true. Most people don't read. Also, my bad on spelling. My English is not my first language. Yeah, fair enough. To be honest, I don't think those quotes are anything close to the other quote. Also, one more thing. Do you mind if I make a YouTube video with this? Sure, I don't mind. Just link my channel if you could. I would appreciate that. No! No, 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 no! Oh my god, dude. I need a guy with me. Let me get the that's what I did last time. I had such a hard time with Duriel. Higher. Let me see. These are all level 48. Let me see. Rapid thrust, javelin. Damage done by you in the party. Let me see. Jab. Is there like a strong defensive guy? Let me see. Jab, attack series. Hits, attack rating. Damage. Looks like he deals damage. Current skill level. Thrust, javelin. Jab. These are all jab. But is there anybody that, like, is defensive? Ah, here we go. This guy. He's defensive. Let's do him. I want him. How do I? Current gold. Wahid. This one replace the current. Yes. Give me Wahid. Hey, we got Wahid. What's up, homie? Let's go, Wahid. You and me. You and me, homie. You and me. Maybe I can. It's Duriel's really hard. I don't know how to beat him. Let's see here. Not that I have followed any law. Anyway, you seem like a nice guy, and it just got a little heated. It's 4 a.m. for me, so I gotta go. Best of luck. I would love to debate again for a longer format. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. I got about 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna call it. But I appreciate y'all for joining in. I'm gonna see if I can. Hey, at ATL Clutch, just subscribe. Thank you for the subscription. I really appreciate it. I gotta be able to, like, do something. Like, all right, so I should be able to use static field, but I gotta be able to, like, this guy has to survive long enough to where, like, can I trade him and give him potions? Let me see. I think there's like a way to give potions. Let me see. Character A? No. Skill tree, quest log, inventory, auto map, party screen. No, not party screen. Where is the menu for the other character? Character? A? C? No. T? No. Quest log. No. Inventory. Oh, sorry, that's the thing coming back up again. I don't know why it does that. Very annoying. Party screen, no. Game menu, no. Son of a bitch. I always get stuck on this part. Where are you at, Wahid? Can I trade with you? Can I? Not in town? Okay, hold on. How do I give him potions? T. Hold on. Oh, we got somebody who wants to speak. I don't have that much time, Chun, but go ahead. We'll bring you in.
Hey there.
What's up, Chun?
Yo, unfortunately, your show happens to coincide with my weekly reading, so I haven't had the chance too much to call in, but I heard that you were saying something or other about Israel-Palestine, so I thought I would call in.
Goodness.
Just have a short conversation, at the end of your stream. Usually how these things go, but...
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I had two interesting quotes because you were mentioning digging for quotes.
Uh-huh.
So this was around the time of the invasion of Rafah. Biden said that was his red line. He would do something.
Yeah.
So this was to HuffPost. It says, a second U.S. official speaking to HuffPost was asked about the claim that the ground invasion would be limited and said, quote, "It will be big. Everyone who says it's going to be, quote, limited is a white man who thinks 1 million dead brown people is, quote, limited."
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
I just enjoy that quote. But for genocidal intent, this one's a very rare one. This comes from Max Hastings, who is doing like a biography on one of Netanyahu's siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes and he sits down for dinner with them. And this is from his book. I think it's... Hold on. I could get a citation, but I don't know if it matters. But it says here, at Bibi Netanyahu's dinner table in Jerusalem, I listened with crawling dismay to Bibi talking about the future of his country. Quote, "In the next war, if we do it right, we'll have the chance to get all the Arabs out," he said. "We can clear the West Bank, sort out Jerusalem." He joked about the Golani Brigade, the Israeli infantry force in which so many men were North African or Yemenite Jews. "They're okay as long as they're led by white officers," he grinned. So it's just kind of...
That's awful.
Yeah. Towards...
I'll be honest with you. I don't find that funny at all.
No, it's not funny. I mean, it's like... I'm only laughing because of how
insanely
awful of a statement it is. Yeah.
No, I get you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were people that were just telling me like that it's not a genocide, just over and over.
Oh.
And this poor little 17-year-old, they hardly know anything. It's so insane that they hold these opinions. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah. I've got a good one for that too. I'll post it in the chat here. This is from Common Dreams, titled, "Even once reluctant scholars now agree Israel's Gaza assault is a genocide." And basically, there are plenty of examples of it. Even like a month into it, there was an open letter from hundreds of scholars of genocide and the Holocaust saying of the risk of genocide. And then even a week ago, 800 scholars, lawyers, judges, etc. said that to the British government, hey, this looks like a genocide. You should probably cut down weapon shipments and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And in this article, I'm not sure, but there was another one about interviewing 8 scholars of genocide and the Holocaust, and they're all basically saying I don't know a single serious person that is in my field that thinks it's not a genocide.
Yeah.
They're basically saying it's consensus effectively that it is a genocide.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree with you as well. I mean, to be fair, right? Even I at first did not call it a genocide. I said, this is the cost of war. But very quickly
Mm-hmm.
when I started seeing the famine, I was like, okay, yeah, this is way beyond what is appropriate in war.
Right.
Is at that point,
well,
I couldn't reconcile with it any further.
Yeah. But there's just so many aspects of it. There's the total destruction of buildings and infrastructure and economic and other kinds of, important structures, buildings in the Strip. there's the food aspect, the starvation aspect.
Yeah. No, it's insane
yeah.
that, like, I don't know, just people are acting like that it's fine, you know, and it's obviously not fine.
Yeah. Well, like, I think if somebody had that opinion and they had read, or even at least like, you know, like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, even like the position statement of like a human rights group talking about how it's a genocide, like every major one does, you know, has a paper about it. But if they had read something like that and they still have something to like deny that, then okay, like maybe there's something to talk about of like helping you get over your like hesitancy or whatever. But in general, it just kind of seems like it's not because but Hamas is doing everything and Hamas. So
I keep dying to Doriel, dude. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. It's my fault.
No, it's not your fault.
distracting you.
It's my fault. I don't know how to beat Doriel. I'm trash.
This Diablo 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm just not good. I'm not good at this.
Well, I don't know. It might just be your gear.
No, I'm dead. I don't have gear right now. I'm just dead. And I really only have seconds to like get enough damage off, and I don't know, it's annoying. Here, let's try it again. Here we go. Jesus, this sucks. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna walk
Speaking
in.
of,
Hopefully he doesn't hit me.
It looks like
Yeah, he's just dead. Like that was it. That was all I got. I got no damage on him.
Nice.
Forget it.
All right, it's all good.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. Anyway, thanks for calling in. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have a conversation on something we disagree about some other time.
I gotta figure out what to do with Duriel. We'll figure something out.
All right. See ya.
Yeah. All right. Thank y'all. Athena, come on up. I'm gonna end this. Hold on. I'm gonna stop the streaming. Stop recording. Thank y'all for joining. I'll see.